Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Food City store managers as they deliver the most famous words in motorsports. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Food City store managers as they deliver the most famous words in motorsports.
On behalf of more than 13,000 associates, it's my pleasure to be with more than 100 great store managers that are going to give the command. Gentlemen, start your engines!
Of all the millions of people who drive across this country, these are 43 of the best, and they'll be crammed here in Bristol. We'll count you down at the start of the race here in just a moment.
Engines roar in Thunder Valley, the Roman Coliseum of NASCAR, Bristol, Tennessee.
I've always said about Bristol, brings out the best in you, brings out the worst in you.
Well, he just got the Bristol stomp put on him. This is the track where emotions flare. This is Bristol.
Fox Sports presents NASCAR Sprint Cup Racing from Bristol, and we're glad you're with us. Greg Biffle is on the pole. A.J. Allmendinger starting on the front row with Michael Waltrip. Chris Myers here in the Hollywood Hotel. Carl Edwards starts 8th. He's won here twice. Tony Stewart back beyond 20. Who are you watching today?
I like Jeff Gordon, like I said in the pre-race. The reason why he hasn't won here in 10 years, but he's proven he knows how to be aggressive, and he also knows how to finesse this place. It takes a combination of those two things to win here. Look for Jeff to be strong today.
And the guys who will call the race today, as they always do for NASCAR on Fox, Darrell Waltrip, Larry McReynolds, and Mike Joy. Mike, short track racing, kind of the NASCAR's version of the bump and run.
Yeah, nowhere more so than at Bristol, Chris. Earlier this week, Jeff Burton said, there are no fluke winners here. Only the best drivers win at Bristol, in the best cars. You stay up on the wheel just to get yourself in a position to win as this race winds down at the end of 500 laps. Why, Darrell, is there just so much emotion tied to this place, even in the pre-race?
Listen, and I always felt stressed when I came here. You know, the noise. We talked about how noisy it is and how fast it is. It's fast and it's furious. How close it is. The anxiety of running 500 laps here, physical, mental. Everything that goes into making this race as difficult as it can possibly be comes into play today. Emotion, all those things, got to control them.
Get you a box of goodies and a bottle of Tums. You'll be all right.
I'm jacked up.
Larry, today we're racing into the great unknown. We had a long, sustained, hard rain this morning, washed the rubber from the track, and created a lot of what-ifs.
Yeah, Mike, for 2 days we've been here with 3 different series of cars laying rubber on this racetrack, and the more rubber that goes down, the more it changes the way these cars drive. That's what these drivers have been tuning to, and now all that rubber's gone, so there's a lot of unknown, I think, in the first 50 or 75 laps we get that rubber down. But the other thing is, no matter how good of a race car you have, the way this 500 lap race cycles through, the way people will gamble with strategy, you almost know you're going to end up in the back. The goal is to make sure you get back to the front and get there toward the end of this race.
500 laps. Let's have a look at the Geico starting grid for today's race. Greg Biffle, 45th driver to win a pole here. A.J. Allmendinger, best short track start ever. Ryan Newman, a runner-up finish, and Jeff Gordon, 5 wins here. Brad Keselowski, the winner last August, with Regan Smith, his 3rd top 10 start of the season. Eric Almirola makes his first top 10 start at Bristol, and Carl Edwards, a 2-time winner. Joey Logano, 5 of 7 Bristol races. He's been in the top 10 to start. And Casey Kane looking for his first top 15 finish of the season. Menard and Ambrose in row 6. And as you look back at the rest of the grid, Darrell's on the phone.
Let's see if we can get Greg Biffle here. Hey, Biff, it's DW in the Fox Sports booth, buddy. You got a copy?
I got you, DW.
Hey, man, I thought you were on the pole.
Yeah, so did I. It seems like the high groove a little faster here. I'm a little worried about the track being as green as it is with the bottom having a lot of grip, but, you know, the old momentum coming off the corner, I think the top is probably the way to go.
10-4, I think I agree with that. Hey, man, you're off to the best start in a long, long time, 3/3. And you don't have any short track wins, Greg. Can you do it today from the pole?
Absolutely. 3 of guys can give me a car I can win with, so I just got to do it now. It's up to me.
All right, brother. Head down, elbows up, get her done.
Greg Biffle starts from the pole. I hope nobody told him that the last time this race was won from the pole was back in 1999. Rusty Wallace did it. This race is brought to you by Budweiser, the beer that starts with full flavor and ends with a crisp, fast finish. Great times are waiting. Grab some Buds. While they can easily hear us before these cars come to full roar, Steve Burns.
All right, thank you, Mike. Dale Earnhardt Jr. calls winning here in 2004 one of his most treasured racing memories. Today he starts 18th. His crew chief, Steve Letarte, told me moments ago, expect to see some different tire strategies here as teams try to get track position. Dick Berggren?
Well, Michael Waltrip likes Jeff Gordon's chances today. You should too. He's starting from the 4th position. Nobody in today's race has won more of these Sprint Cup events here at Bristol than Jeff Gordon. His crew chief told me this morning the car is so good this is their best chance to win this year. Chris Devoda.
1/1000th of a second. That's all that A.J. Allmendinger from the pole. Ultra competitive. He said he actually lost sleep over it. But he also said his team has made him feel comfortable at a place where he has never been. Fantastic. Could he be our next first-time Sprint Cup Series winner at one of the toughest venues on the circuit? Matt Yoakum?
Krista, Ryan Newman starts 30. He's just about done it all here in Thunder Valley. Won in the modifieds, won in Nationwide, even owns a track record, but yet to win in Sprint Cup. Crew chief Tony Gibson and Newman think the biggest culprit has been that last stage in the race, not making a big enough or the right adjustment at the right time. They spent a lot of time in practice working on the final segment today. They feel like today they're finally going to capitalize. Now let's go to a guy who knows all about making winning calls here at Bristol, Jeff Hammond.
Hey, thanks, Matt. Unbelievable you for an unbelievable racetrack. We know it's loud at Bristol. We know it's fast, but believe it or not, today, where you finish can be determined by a simple speeding penalty. Mike?
Thank you, Jeff. Bristol Motor Speedway, high banked, the world's largest fully enclosed amphitheater. And as one driver once described it, it's like running 500 laps in a clothes dryer. By the end of the day, somebody's going to lose a sock or two. Kind of cool, 63 degrees, morning rain, but now just the sky about 50% cloudy right now. Light breeze. 500 laps around this half mile.
Pit road speed 30 miles per hour, and it is a long pit road, even though it's a short track fuel window, about 130 to 140 laps. We talked about the racetrack being green, a competition caution lap 50. You cannot fuel your car until that competition caution.
Transmission changes for Stremme and Blaney, send them to the back of the field, and here's our 12-time Bristol winner to get this party started.
Man, oh man, oh man. Does it get any better than this? This is what racing is all about. Bristol, Tennessee, up on the wheel. Boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's trade some paint, boys. Looks like old Biff, looked like he made a good choice on that outside.
But Darrell, what I noticed, A.J. Allmendinger in the 22 almost went and then realized, hey, I can't beat Biffle to the line, and had to check up and back off.
When Greg Biffle comes back around, he will double the number of laps that pole winners have led this year. That's 2. Fifth place, Regan Smith trying to hold back Carl Edwards. With the progressive banking, the upper lane appears to be the racing groove. Try to get your passing done on the inside, and here comes Carl.
Yeah, right now, I mean, the track's green, and there's not a lot of rubber laid down. This is the most difficult part of the race. The start of it here, low tire pressure, no rubber on the track, not a lot of grip.
Almirola, Keselowski looking in side by side. But it's kind of a double wide clog here because Edwards gets into the corner better than Smith, but the 78 powers off the corner.
When you're pinched down on the bottom like that, you just need the whole racetrack to be able to make the pass. If somebody's out there, they just bog you down. You can't go.
Here comes Jeff Gordon, A.J. Allmendinger. Dinger trying to take second place. He qualified outside pole, but started the race on the inside, and Gordon got a better jump from the outside of row 2 than he did.
He almost had to pass complete the last time off, too, and got plumb sideways underneath Jeff Gordon in that 24.
Ryan Newman in the 39 looking on.
Now, back in the day on the old track, I know people say they like the old track, new track, whatever. You could not race like this. You couldn't race with a guy side by side. There was no second groove.
Gordon able to hold Allmendinger off. So it's Ford, Chevy, Dodge, and then the Chevy of Newman and Smith.
And this is where a guy like A.J. Allmendinger, he's got to really, really be patient and don't get frustrated here. He's faster than Jeff Gordon, but Jeff Gordon has the position.
They have a pretty good gap on that fifth place battle, which has settled down now between Regan Smith, Brad Keselowski, Carl Edwards, and Eric Almirola. Pretty good gap there.
And just we're about not quite a half lap already from Greg Biffle catching the rear of this field. He's coming off of 2. The last car just went into 3. That's how quickly you can catch up to the back of the field here.
Now you'll see the leader. There's Greg Biffle in the 16. And less than half a lap away, tail end of the field. Here comes the Dinger, second place.
I believe Jeff Gordon finally said, I think I'll let this kid go. That's what makes Jeff Gordon so good here. He knows when to race, and he knows when to let people go.
Now he's got his hands full of Ryan Newman in that 39 car, though, working him over for 3rd spot.
But Larry, the spotter's probably telling Jeff right now, a little gap between you and the next group of cars. Gordon might want to let Newman go as well.
10th place, Kyle Busch trying to work underneath Marcus Ambrose, Joey Logano in the 20.
And let somebody go is really not what you do. You just know it's not a good time to be racing somebody that could maybe slip into you and wreck you.
Darrell, I love the interview you did with Kyle Busch in the pre-race show, the driver of that 18 car. To me, one thing that's always impressed me, and we saw it in qualifying on Friday, his car control. Unbelievable.
It really is, Larry. And he does. He explains it very well. And I'm like you. That was a fun interview. He was loose and really a good little guy to interview.
Back at 3rd place, Ryan Newman still cannot get by and clear Jeff Gordon. Gordon hanging tough in 3rd. Dick.
Well, Gordon said the car is simply pathetic in turns 1 and 2, Mike.
We hear that almost every week, Larry, at the beginning of these races. He doesn't like his car.
And there you just saw it. And Larry, as we talked, you're guessing at the setup because you got a green racetrack, and it looks like that team, for the condition we have right now, that's not what that car wants.
Well, and they got to be patient here. You know, we know we're going to get that caution no matter what at lap 50, and that will kind of be the dilemma, is how much do we adjust the race car to these track conditions, because we know we're going to get rubber down. In fact, I'm already seeing it starting to turn back black again.
Greg Biffle leads A.J. Allmendinger by 1 second, Jeff Gordon and Ryan Newman by 3, and Regan Smith the top 5.
NASCAR on Fox is sponsored by Sprint, proud sponsor of the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series.
Caution is out. Big pile up in turn number 1. Kasey Kahne in the 5, racing Regan Smith hard in the 78. And Kahne is out of his car, and it's junk. There's Regan Smith in the 78, Brad Keselowski in the deuce, and down on the inside is Kasey Kahne.
Kasey in the 5 and Regan in the 78, they made slight contact, but when they bounced off the wall, this is how fast. These guys are being told, slow down, but you can't. There's nothing you can do when there's a wreck in front of you.
Marcus Ambrose, Kyle Busch, and the 29 of Kevin Harvick. Hard to tell from that angle whether Kahne might have thought he had cleared Smith and moved up in front of him.
I think he was hoping that he had cleared him.
Shows you right there how quick everything happens.
Darrell, there just isn't any way that Regan Smith knows Kasey Kahne's coming up. You know, Regan has it. You see cars side by side on the straightaways here. Regan just made his move, and Kasey Kahne moved up. I think it's shocked. Watch. Regan thinks I got a shot down the straightaway. Kasey says I'm taking that spot. There isn't anything Regan could have done to have prevented that crash.
Yeah, I don't know if Regan maybe even touched the wall and caused him to turn left just a little bit into Kahne, because there was a lot of room there.
And that reminds you of Bristol, doesn't it? One car wrecks and a bunch more is going to join him.
Yeah, you can see the 5 car nose into the outside there with Regan right in his blind spot, I guess you'd say.
Yeah, that's one of those racing deals, as they say here at Bristol, Tennessee. Regan was driving down the straightaway, and Kasey said, good, I got him cleared, I'm moving up, and look what happens.
Cars from 5th through 13th place were involved. Ride with Kevin Harvick.
Stay up. We got back 18 here. We got damage here.
And now Jimmy Johnson's view.
Nose damage here, boys. He's on the high side. You're clear right now. Good job.
Wow, you expect the track to clog up, but when the apron clogs up, that's really tough. Kyle Busch and Carl Edwards are behind the wall. For a fella who's won 5 times here.
And just had
blame him for
has
that.
no luck this year. Every time he turned around, he's in something going on, some kind of wreck.
See some damage there on the front end of Regan Smith's 78 car. Right now, pit road is closed because of the apron down in turn 1 and 2's block.
Riding with Kasey Kahne.
NASCAR at Fox is sponsored by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. By Pizza Hut, order the new $10 dinner box today. And by Ram Trucks, guts, glory, Ram.
30 laps complete at Bristol. Greg Biffle's led them all. Carl Edwards behind the wall. So is Kyle Busch, Marcus Ambrose, and Kasey Kahne. Let's go all the way back to 1 lap before this unfolded and pick up the action in turn 2 between 78 Smith, the 2 of Keselowski, and the 5 of Kasey Kahne.
Look right here. Kasey Kahne is way ahead of the 78, but when you get that good run off the high side of the corner, you have so much momentum down the straightaway. There's no doubt in my mind that Kasey thought, oh, I got him passed. I'm going to ease up into the groove here and get ready for the first turn. But Regan Smith was there. It just wasn't clear.
All right, let's ride along with Kasey Kahne.
Let's see what. Still out there, outside. You're clear on the 78, clear. Outside. Got hit hard. Still getting hit hard.
I think that pretty much tells us what we were looking for right there.
There's a little bit of latency in the radio transmission to the video, but clearly Kahne was coming off the corner. He was cleared by a spotter, and I'm now told that is synced with the video. So excuse me, he was cleared by the spotter.
Which I would have.
That is a blind spot. You depend on your
I would have said the same thing.
Get you up there. Yep.
You know, we saw Kasey was way ahead of the 78, but what you don't take into consideration sometimes is just how much more speed a guy has off the corner closing on you, and Kasey just moved up a little bit too soon, and there you go.
8 wins among the drivers involved in this accident. 8 Bristol wins. Matt?
Mike, Carl Edwards has just had a chance to look over all the different camera angles. Can you describe the level of frustration so early in the race for this to happen?
Well, I was feeling good this morning. Got up, had my Frosted Flakes, had a ton of energy, and it's frustrating to see this happen. It looks like after watching the replay that looked like Regan was battling with that same thing that we all battle with here is should I let him go or should I race? And Kasey probably thought he was clear, and that caused that wreck. And I know it didn't look like it, but all the guys, myself included, that ran into him, we all saw it. We're all on the brakes. But Kasey's car just perfectly, slid down to the bottom and came up across the racetrack, and it's too bad it ruined our day.
Should have been more courtesy at that point?
I think right now it's, early in the race, it's time to be courteous. But, heck, I held up Eric for a few laps more than I should have. It's just so hard here. As a driver, you sit in that race car and you don't want to let him go, so I understand.
All right, Dick Berggren?
With Kasey Kahne, with the spotter's call, did you think you were all set, clear?
Yeah,
right there in the mud.
Yeah, I know what I had. I feel horrible for Farmers Insurance, for Chevrolet, for Quaker State, everybody at Hendrick Motorsports. This is the worst way I could start a season. I have the fastest car every single week, and something happens right there. There's no reason to force the issue at all. I'm just taking my time, just cutting the bottom, simple. And I'm under Regan Smith, like as slow as he was. I knew when my spotter cleared me in the center, I would be clear on exit because he said all clear, good to go. So when I get to the exit, I knew Regan was slow, and then he was back there, you know, and I just, I listened too much to my spotter, I guess, but I hate it for everybody. It's really disappointing and discouraging to have as fast race cars as I have and not have nothing to show for.
Third big crash of 2012 so far, Mike.
There were a lot of folks in the garage thought that would be the driver standing in victory lane today. 6 cars taken out in a grinding turn 1 crash in Bristol. Behind the wall, 5-time Bristol winner Kyle Busch. Marcus Ambrose, heavy damage to his Ford. Carl Edwards, right front damage. And on track, Kevin Harvick, his car being worked on pit road to clear fenders. Also behind the wall, Kasey Kahne and Regan Smith still running. Trying to get Kasey back on track. Now, we expected a yellow at lap 50. NASCAR informed the drivers at their weekly meeting. Competition yellow, so they could make adjustments based on the weather and the rain that came through last night. But once the track is cleaned and ready to go, then NASCAR will call that competition yellow, and instead of racing through to the lap 50 mark.
Let's look at this again, because a couple of things stick out of my mind, and Michael might want to jump in here. It looked like Kasey was way ahead of Regan Smith in the 78 in the middle of the corner. Right here, you're going to see Kasey really clears the 78. So right here, Kasey says, spotter says you're clear up. But listen, here's one thing that you got to look at. Kasey Kahne was not sure. If he had been sure, he would have driven all the way out in front of Regan, which is what he probably should have done. But he left enough room in there for Regan to get his nose in there, and that's where the wreck started.
All right, we're going to hear Regan Smith and his spotter, former Truck Series standout Rick Corelli.
5-way on the bottom, half back to the 2. Getting a little impatient there. Damn it. Y'all good? Came right up. He didn't have anywhere to, he didn't have us still out there. Yeah, he tried to cut us in.
And that's the two sides of the story.
Right.
He didn't give me any room. The other guy says he came up. Gosh, it seems like we must be at a short track like Bristol or somewhere.
Kasey's spotter is his cousin Cole. He's been Kasey's spotter for a long time, and you know, they rely heavily on each other. And yes, Kasey came up in front of Regan Smith, no question there. But Darrell, you got a huge blind spot in the right rear, and the sight lines at this track aren't that good anyway.
But here's the other thing that you have to consider, no matter which car you're driving. We're 20 laps into a 500 lap race. We got 480 more laps to go, and you're out of the race.
You know, with pit road open and 36 drivers on the lead lap, we only ran 23 laps. I think we'll see some drivers fuel only, some drivers right side tires. We may even see some, like A.J. Allmendinger in the 22, stay out.
Dick Berggren.
Jeff Gordon's crew chief, Alan Gustafson, told him he was going to fix Gordon up on this pit stop car. Not been nearly as good as they had hoped for. 2 tires on the outside, gas, he's gone.
This is the only track where we have 2 distinct pit roads, front stretch and back stretch. So cars enter on the pits off turn 2 and have to come all the way around regardless of which side they're pitted on.
You know, Larry, I might stay out right now if my car was good. If I had a pretty good car, I'd stay out. But if I need adjustments, get them now.
Matt.
Ryan Newman pitting in the first stall off turn 4, right side tires only, no changes. He said Stevie spent too much time behind the 24.
2 tires for Greg Biffle on the 16. They'll also make a track bar adjustment because he's loose getting into the corners.
A couple of drivers that I saw that did fuel only: Brad Keselowski in the 2, Matt Kenseth in the 17. So just as we anticipated, a lot of different strategies there.
Krista?
A.J. Allmendinger's team told him this is the competition caution. He said, I'm a little tight in the center, but trust me, it's good. They decided to stay out.
7 drivers did not pit. Allmendinger, Martin Truex in the 56, Dale Earnhardt Jr. the 88, Brian Vickers in the 55, Jamie McMurray, Jeff Burton, and Brendan Gaughan did not pit. Let's have a look at the different pit roads here at Bristol. and what you are faced with when you pit under green.
Well, everyone enters at turn 2 if it's under caution. But if we have a green flag pit stop and you're on the backstretch, you'll pretty much enter turn 2, exit turn 3, and then the same on the front straightaway. But pretty much no matter green or caution, if you're pitting on the backstretch, the good thing is you're going to enter pit road at the same place, and that's off turn 2.
Yeah, and I thought a lot about that, Larry. And if I was me, I would want to be on the back straightaway because that way I don't get confused.
Outside pole sitter A.J. Allmendinger is your leader after this big crash. Getting ready to restart. Darrell, what could the 5 have done to avoid this happening?
Well, you see right here, right in the middle of the corner, he clears the 78. He's got him cleared right there. He should have come right up the racetrack. Right there was the gap. He should have gotten in. But he was in doubt. He wasn't sure if he was clear. Even though the spotter said he was clear, he eased up there, and Regan was there, and they made contact. If he'd have come right up once he got him cleared, that would never happened.
We talk so much about those 5 or 6 drivers involved. How about how close Brad Keselowski came to being involved in that?
Yeah, and Jimmy Johnson down here.
Here's our KFC Fresh start. KFC, come in today and taste why fresh is better. We restart at lap 46 of 500. A.J. Allmendinger, Martin Truex, and the 5 drivers behind them did not stop. And as you look at that number 55 Toyota, that's not Mark Martin this week. Brian Vickers returns to the series to drive 6 races for MWR beginning today.
And
he's in third.
You saw right there the 56 of Truex and Vickers in the 55. They came off the corner and they're respecting each other. They gave each other a little room. Of course, they would their teammates, but they did it the right way.
Behind them, Dale Jr. and Jeff Burton side by side. Couple of past Bristol winners. Earnhardt on the inside, and then pole sitter Greg Biffle. Biffle is the first driver in this race who made the pit stop at lap 41.
Oh boy, June got his car plumb sideways off turn 2 over there.
Yeah, Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 88 car ran a lot of laps yesterday. Actually looked pretty good on the long run. One of the drivers that stayed out under that caution.
He likes that bottom. That's kind of old school.
Second place, Vickers to the inside. Hasn't raced since last season. Trying to make the most of this opportunity, and teammate Truex powers past in the 56.
Best thing those two guys can do, the 56 and the 55, respect each other and just take it easy. Don't do anything dumb right now, boys. Did I say dumb?
No. That settles down. Let's go back to 11th place. Matt Kenseth on the outside of Brendan Gaughan in the 33 and Eric Almirola in the 43. Ryan Newman trying to come back up through along with Paul Menard in the 27.
Now Brendan Gaughan in the 33, one of the drivers that stayed out. Matt Kenseth in that 17 took right side tires on his car.
And Larry, we mentioned before the accident about the 22 of Allmendinger chasing down Greg Biffle. Now that he's out front, he's I think he's really just pacing himself, running some pretty good laps, but not pushing it. Right now, if you're back in the field a little bit, you're just sizing people up. Can I get by this guy on the inside? Do I need to go up high on the outside? You're just sort of sitting here right now, if you're racing somebody, sizing a guy up, see what you can, how you got to get by him.
Speaking of racing, Brian Vickers in that 55 is all over Martin Truex Jr. in that 56. You saw Martin sideways. I think Vickers will clear him this time.
I think Martin said, you want it that bad? Have at it. Martin ran good here. He's been really good here at Bristol the last couple of times we've been here.
You know, looking at Brian Vickers, what a 2 years that young man has had. You know, in May of 2010 was told he could not race because he had blood clots. Then he was finally cleared. The race team he drove for last year, Red Bull, closes the doors. He has no ride leading into 2012. Michael Waltrip Racing gives him the opportunity to run 6 races this year.
And I think this is almost like an audition for Brian Vickers to get his credibility back. He made a lot of people mad at the end of last year, particularly at Martinsville. I think he's trying to get some respect.
There's your leader, Allmendinger. First time he's led here in 11 trips to Bristol. Third place, Dale Earnhardt, or fourth place now, Dale Earnhardt Jr. behind the Dinger. Vickers and Truex. Jeff Burton settles into 5th. But back at the end of the top 20, things are really heating up. Watch the 51 of Kurt Busch. trying to hang on to that car. He's a 5-time Bristol winner like his brother. Juan Pablo Montoya in the 42, and Tony Stewart right behind Montoya has tried 3 wide on the outside, 2 wide on the inside, and I think Stewart has just concluded, I've got nowhere to go and no way to get there.
I think the old champ is going to see what unfolds here before he gets too aggressive.
We talked about it in that first run. It's only been about 14 laps since the restart. They're already more than a half a lap down to leader A.J. Allmendinger.
Stewart gains purchase on the inside, clears Montoya, and goes after Kurt Busch, who's fighting a loose car on the outside. And then just ahead, the 10 of David Rudiman.
That explains what tail happy means, because that baby is tail happy.
Except for the happy part.
Yeah, he's not happy.
Closing up on Rudiman and Bowyer in the 15. Here's the view out the back of the 5-hour energy cam and Bowyer's car.
Boy, you come off the corner underneath somebody. It's a fine line. You got to really tiptoe when you're down under them and hope that you don't slip.
And as Kasey Kahne earlier, Stewart going into the corner, he can all but clear Kurt Busch, but doesn't want to slide up in front of him for just what happened to Kahne and Regan Smith.
And Tony knows that, and he's given Kurt lots of room. He's not forcing himself up in front of him like Kasey tried to do.
Last August, Stewart went a lap down here within the first 70 laps of the race, then went 2 laps down before lap 200. Where'd he finish? 3rd. 7th place, Brad Keselowski and pole sitter Greg Biffle. Now they both stopped at lap 41. Different agendas, and Kevin Harvick had a lot of damage from that incident at lap 23, but back out and running and still on the lead lap.
Yeah, pretty impressed what his team did. He pitted 9 times. He restarted back in 35th, and now he's worked his way up inside the top 25, working now on David Gilliland in that 38.
Back up front, Allmendinger holds a 1.5-second cushion, which at Bristol is huge.
He better enjoy it, because when he catches to the back of the field, then that's when the 55 will catch up and probably everybody else.
And that'll begin the world's fastest conveyor belt around the half-mile at Bristol. Trying to win his first Cup race, now behind the wheel for Roger Penske, A.J. Allmendinger is your leader.
No, next question.
NASCAR on Fox is sponsored by Budweiser. Great times are waiting. Grab some Buds.
Let's take an inside look at what's happening in the Sprint Cup Series, brought to you by Sprint. Most laps led, Greg Biffle. And the biggest mover, Jeff Burton, who did not stop under that caution, has come from 33rd now to 4th. Get unlimited access to the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series with live in-car audio and real-time stats only on the Sprint Network, the only national carrier with truly unlimited data. Learn more at sprint.com/speed.
You know, you talked about some of those guys up front here not stopping. In the past, that would have been a pretty good move, but this thing has a history lately of going green for long periods of time. Man, a green flag pit stop, and you're talking about a lap and a half, maybe 2 laps down if you have to stop under green.
Yeah, the good news is with all those cautions we ran under that first caution, our top 5 drivers they've not been to pit road, they should be able to go another probably 65, 70 laps from as we sit right now.
Well, let's check on the 5th place car, one of those that did not stop. Steve.
Yeah, Dale Earnhardt Jr., they've got some pit strategies. Started 18th, now 5th. Dale Jr. just telling crew chief Steve Letarte that his car is just a little bit loose.
And you know, I'd say this deep into a run, Darrell, just a little bit loose. That's probably not a bad thing. As long as the back end's not hanging way out, you don't want that thing to start pushing where you can't turn the race car.
Yeah, you just got to, you know, slow down and take what you got. You got track position right now. Don't lose all of it here with the car not handling good. But I keep watching Allmendinger in the 22 car, and he is driving a masterful race. I know we're only 85 laps into the race, but he's patient. The car is good. He's working the bottom. He's working the top. And he's really not worrying about the fact that Martin Truex and Brian Vickers are catching him a little bit. He's being really, really wise how he's driving the car right now.
And right now, he's dealing with drivers that are desperately trying to stay on the lead lap, like Bobby Labonte in that 47.
He's got a really good race car, and that doesn't surprise me, Larry. I mean, let's think about the history of the 22 car here. That's Kurt Busch. That's his old car, and he's run a lot of laps here and won some races.
And here's Kyle Busch getting back behind the wheel of his Joe Gibbs number 18. Looks like they got it patched up enough to get him back on track.
And if you want to talk about a miserable day, have trouble early at Bristol and then go out there in a car that's patched up. Try to stay out of the way. Try to get as many laps, get as good a finish as you can. That's a miserable day at Bristol.
Bobby Labonte hanging tough and staying on the tail end of the lead lap against A.J. Allmendinger. Dinger needs to be aggressive to clear Labonte, but not so aggressive that he jeopardizes his lead, and company's coming.
Yeah, these two guys here, I knew when they got in traffic they'd be catching up to Allmendinger. He just got to fight his tongue and bide his time, man, because you just can't get by these lap cars as easy as you'd like to.
If you look back there at that maroon car on the bottom, Jeff Burton, he all of a sudden has moved into the picture here. He's running in fourth, and right behind him, Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 88.
Now, in defense of Bobby Labonte, who is running the leader really hard right now, his tires are 41 laps fresher than A.J. Allmendinger's because Labonte was one of the cars that stopped during the caution flag.
You're going to have to be able to work the bottom. I mean, I said it in practice yesterday. Everybody's going to run the top side, and so you got to be able to get around them on the inside. They give you the whole bottom of the racetrack. You got to be able to use that.
Here comes Vickers. Whoa! He and Truex tied tight together. Michael Waltrip, you own both those 55 and 56 cars. How nervous does this make you?
I just want them not to run into each other, guys. We saw at the end of Vegas where the Roush cars got together, and this is a little bit tense right now.
Well, Vickers in the 55 has cleared Truex in the 56. Brian Vickers is wanting to go up there and try to lead this race.
And
look at Dale Jr. Yeah, look at Jr. He's got that high line getting around on that. Oh!
3 wide. Burton on the inside, Jr. on the outside, and they send Martin Truex back to 5th place.
Well, they ought to all thank Bobby Labonte. Right now, that's opening the door for Brian Vickers. He's going to take the lead right here.
It's like he gets off turn 2 a little bit better than A.J. Allmendinger. Here they go back. Vickers back to the bottom through 3 and 4.
Look what a gap he can pull through the center of the corner. Now he's got the lead, and he's got a car that can run the bottom, and that's just so critical.
And it's been how long since he drove in a Sprint Cup race?
Well, it's been a while, but you know, the other thing I worry about for him is stamina. When you haven't been in a car for a while, buddy, this place can suck it out of you.
But Darrell, will it suck it out of you when you're up there leading a race like that?
Well, it's not as noticeable.
Good job, man. Leader.
Vickers the leader, closing in on 100 laps complete. Allmendinger second, Earnhardt, Truex, and Burton the top 5.
NASCAR on Fox is sponsored by KFC. Come in today and taste why fresh is better. By AT&T, the nation's largest 4G network. AT&T, rethink possible. And by Ford, proud sponsor of NASCAR.
107 of 500 laps complete. Brian Vickers leading A.J. Allmendinger, Jeff Gordon, Martin Truex, and Jeff Burton. Now here is what Vickers told his team just before they rolled off the grid today.
I'll tell you, I really appreciate all the hard work this week. It'll be a really good race car. It's a long race. I'll do the best I can for you out here, and I know you'll do the same for me. Thanks again, guys.
Time for an AT&T race break with Michael Waltrip, Chris Myers in the Hollywood Hotel, brought to you by the nation's largest 4G network. Rethink possible, and glad you're watching NASCAR on Fox on the Food City 500 from Bristol, Tennessee. Brian Vickers, and it's quite a story, Michael Waltrip. Of course, Michael Waltrip Racing giving him the opportunity along with your other drivers. Here's a guy who had heart surgery in 2010, was without a ride at the end of last year, and certainly showed that appreciation. Right now, it's amazing not only to be in a car, but to be leading a race.
Yeah, but he's fit. This cat's been all about racing cars. He's been out, and I tell you, Chris, when you don't have a ride, it just makes you hungrier. When I talked to him, I said, we're going to be thankful, we're going to be gracious, we're going to be humble about this opportunity, and we're going to go show people that Brian Vickers belongs in NASCAR.
Hey, Mikey, who's this remind you of? Remember when I got a phone call from a certain fella who wanted me to drive his car? And people said, why'd you pick him? You got a phone call from a certain fella said wanted to drive your car, and everybody said, why'd you pick him? He ain't never won a race. How about Brian Vickers?
It's the same story, Darrell. You give a guy that's got the talent of a kid like Brian Vickers a chance in a car like Rodney Childers puts together, you're going to go prove some things, and I think Brian's doing that right now.
And 2 Sprint Cup wins, 60 races since he did last win, and that was at Michigan. As we check the field with Vickers, then Allmendinger, Jeff Gordon. Speaking of streaks, Jeff Burton and Larry McReynolds talking about how he had to work his way through the field not too long ago. 116 races since his last win.
Yeah, Burton's coming too, buddy. That car works down on the bottom. Darrell said it right. You've got to work on the bottom. That's how Vickers got the lead. While everybody else was up next to the wall dealing with traffic, they went where they weren't. You got to go where they ain't, and that's what Vickers was able to do. Rodney Childers giving Vickers some information there.
And we have a car in the wall. Bringing out the second caution of this race. Let's head back upstairs to Mike Joy.
Thanks, Chris. The 32 went up and into the wall hard. Ken Schrader.
To see how the drivers are doing in the AT&T Fastest Driver Challenge, you can text FAST to 34763 or visit AT&TFastestDriver.com.
Caution out for the second time, and the Frank Stoddard car pretty well destroyed. A hard hit for the veteran Missouri driver.
I think he lost the right front tire. You'll see it right there. Tire went down and straight into the safer barrier.
Darrell, one thing that will happen here is you create a lot of brake heat and you'll cook the bead on that right front tire.
Happened to Kyle Busch yesterday in the Nationwide race.
Pit road is open. Dick?
Brian Vickers is very pleased with his car, saying, I like it. The only issue they're faced with, Mike, is the engine is heating more than they'd like. So they're going to try to get some tape off the nose to cool it down. There it goes. Krista.
Dick, A.J. Allmendinger says he feels comfortable rather than confused like he has in the past at this track. He says, I still need more forward drive off. Matt?
And Brad Keselowski making his way to his pit stall, 7th. He says the car needs a little bit more help. Really tight in the center, needs more grip. Steve?
Matt, Dale Earnhardt Jr. saying that his car has gotten tight in the center, which ruins his momentum and his exit. They've made an air pressure adjustment to the 88. Let's see if they take 4 tires, and they will. They'll change all 4 for Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Long way around pit road. Brian Vickers exits ahead of A.J. Allmendinger. Dave Blaney will get the free pass.
In the time of that caution, it pretty much put every driver where you can see right here, 4 tires for everybody.
Caution at lap 117. Brian Vickers retains the lead. Ready to go green after Ken Schrader's crash and clean up. Dave Blaney is the Aaron's lucky dog on this caution flag. You don't need credit. All you need is Aaron's. It'll be Brian Vickers, A.J. Allmendinger. Up front, Jeff Burton there with Jeff Gordon. Brad Keselowski, Dale Earnhardt Jr. We're back under green. 26 cars on the lead lap at Bristol.
Got to watch it right there. Allmendinger's got to really watch out when he moves up. He's got enough room to move up in front of Burton in the 31. So that was all timed out very well.
Now it's Jeff Gordon who can't find a spot in the outside groove. Side by side with Earnhardt. Will Junior give him room? Nope. He's going to battle him.
Oh,
boy.
Junior battled him a little too hard right there, and the car got a little loose, wiggled with him, and that opened the door for Jeff from the 24 to get by. Comes Keselowski on the bottom.
That was almost an opening up the middle for Matt Kenseth, who wisely saw it wouldn't be an opening for long. And Burton goes to the bottom on Allmendinger, second place.
Burton's got a pretty good old hot rod today, guys. He's been up there all the race so far and looking pretty racy.
Jeff Burton told me this morning, with the rain this morning, it's all about what you put under the car at the start of the race. You're only going to be able to make minute adjustments. If you got a good package to start, you can get to the front.
And something that you can adjust on and start taking back out as this racetrack gets back to where it was yesterday.
Well, Burton, those first 31 and 24 both, I watched them in practice yesterday. They worked hard on making their cars roll the bottom of the racetrack. That's what it's going to take to get by some of these guys.
126 laps in, our Dodge Chargers of the race. A.J. Allmendinger second, Brad Keselowski fifth. Both Dodges from Roger Penske's stable in the top 5. There's Brad looking right through the middle of one of those fast closing holes between Jeff Gordon and Jeff Burton.
Here you see Brad won the last time we were here back in the fall of last year.
And you run so close together that when you're down on the bottom and the guy's got his nose in there, there's not a lot of room for error. I mean, if you happen to wiggle a little bit or move up this a little bit more than he anticipates, you're going to make contact.
Pole sitter Greg Biffle at 8th. Jimmy Johnson at 9th, Matt.
And Mike, before that stop, Jimmy was saying he needed more help in the center of the corner. The car was just too tight. Chad Knaus was telling him what DW has talked about so many times. Back up your corner. Get out of the gas early. Try to let it float to the corner. And one comment that Jimmy said, racing today reminds him of racing at Darlington. So many guys are just floating it in up by the wall and arguing it to get a run off the corner.
Up at second place, Johnson's teammate Jeff Gordon. There with A.J. Allmendinger, and Keselowski has the best seat in the house for that one.
Well, there you have two drivers, the 24 Jeff Gordon, 85 career wins, A.J. Allmendinger, the 22, trying to get his first career win.
Marcus Ambrose in the 9, back in the race, 106 laps down.
Jeff's in a Penske sandwich right now.
Yeah. But the group behind is not catching them, so they're free to battle here.
We saw Jeff in his position a little earlier in the race. He ended up yielding after a while. I think he may do that here again.
They're watching Brad Keselowski in the 2. It looks like, especially on fresh tires, as you can see, he clears Jeff Gordon in the 24 as he goes after his teammate, and he really drove it down in there. His car is good on the bottom with fresh tires, and then he'll start moving it up the racetrack as he gets into a run.
They made some good adjustments to that car on the last round of pit stops.
So now Dale Earnhardt Jr. closes in, as does Jeff Burton, trying to get under the Dodge of A.J. Allmendinger, the 22.
Yeah, Junior had a great run here yesterday. He finished 5th, and I think that's one thing I'd like to see Junior do. I wouldn't mind seeing him running some of those Saturday races. Get some more track time. Learn a lot about these tires and what's going to happen on Sunday.
Still our leader and well out front, Brian Vickers in the number 55 Toyota. He's 2.5 seconds out in front of what has been a strong battle for second place. Now decided in favor of Brad Keselowski, then Jeff Gordon, then this 3-wide battle, or 3-car battle. Now Junior underneath Allmendinger with Burton in tow.
Vickers got a little bit in the bank. He's about a half a tenth to a tenth quicker than the second place car.
Now talk about a fellow who's made his own luck. Brad Keselowski narrowly avoided damage in that wreck at lap 23. Watch the number 2. He was right there from the start of it. As Kane got up into Regan Smith, a little bump from Keselowski, and woo!
Timed it. I mean, he couldn't have timed it any better.
And now he's in second place. While most of those other cars are in the garage.
Got to have some lady luck on your side when you come to this joint.
Yeah, Brad had that top 5 run at Phoenix a couple of weeks ago and looked like he was maybe even going to be in a position to contend for the win late in the race at Las Vegas, and had the fuel pump issue with about 15 or 20 laps to go.
How surprised are you, Darrell, that Brian Vickers, first time in a Cup car this year, is leading this race and well out front?
You know what I felt good about when I talked to Brian? He and his crew chief, Rodney Childers, they are old buddies. Rodney worked on Brian's go-kart when Brian was 8 years old. I've said it over and over again, and Hammond will tell you, Larry will tell you, the driver and the crew chief, when they got that chemistry, they can really do magic in a race car.
And he just happened to be the odd man out at the end of 2011 heading into 2012, but he made the commitment, I'm not just going to climb in any race car. He waited till the phone rang from someone like Michael Waltrip.
Take you back to 8th place. Jimmy Johnson in the 48. Greg Biffle in the 16. How about our pole sitter, Steve?
Well, Mike, what's happened to Greg Biffle? He says on a restart, his car's
that's the observation that Daryl and I was making. You know, he goes for a couple laps, but then just like on that very first run, he starts fading just a little bit.
And that's almost the history of a pole car, a car that sits on the pole. That thing was fast for one lap, got me on the pole, and now I'm in a dilemma. I don't know whether to change the car up a little bit or do I leave it alone fast. He maybe should have worked on it a little bit.
Matt Kenseth is coming, and he powers his Ford past Dale Earnhardt Jr. to move up into the top 5. Kenseth started 21st.
Matt looking for a good run here today. It's been a bit of a bumpy road for him since he won the Daytona 500 about a month ago.
And I looked at that wreck from Vegas last week, and quite honestly, Casey Kane was, if there was a problem with what happened at the end of that race, when Casey went by Kenseth on the outside off turn 2, it sucked the back of that 17 car around. I know they were clustered, but when the 5 went by on the outside, that's what got him.
Yeah, all 3 Roush Fenway cars right there at the end of the race. Ending up in a wad. Here is Brian Vickers, now 1.6 seconds ahead of Brad Keselowski, Jeff Gordon, A.J. Allmendinger, and Matt Kenseth.
NASCAR on Fox is sponsored by Aaron's. Credit is hard, Aaron's is easy. By McDonald's, I'm loving it. By Coca-Cola, it's time to refuel Coca-Cola. Open happiness. And by Pennzoil, pursuing the latest oil. Technology because we love cars just as much as you do.
160 laps complete. Brian Vickers continues to lead. His lead now cut to 1.2 seconds. Vickers in a Toyota running his first race of the season.
Yeah, Vickers slowed down quite a bit the last few laps here. And I know this may not be a factor, but if I was Michael or anybody else that's working with Brian, I'd be a little bit worried about, can he take this pace? Not being in the car for a while. Got to keep an eye on that. Keep him freshened up, give him fluids, and be sure you keep him pumped up.
Well, Brad Keselowski's coming. Last August's winner here in the night race, now down to within 1.1 seconds.
Our next driver here, Jeff Gordon in the 24. When you see him running this strong, 162 laps into it, you know he's going to be a factor by the end of the day.
Matt Kenseth's Ford has come from 21st on the grid. 4 laps ago, he passed Dale Earnhardt Jr. to move up into 4th place. Dale Jr. started 18th and continues to run in the top 5. His lap times are about 1/10 of a second faster than the leaders. A.J. Allmendinger missed the pole in his number 22 by 1/1000th of a second, and has steadily run in the top 5 or so. Here's Jeff Burton in 6th. Burton did not pit on that first caution and jumped up to the top 5.
Jimmy Johnson in the 48 car. Last 2 races, 2 top 5 finishes after finishing 42nd at Daytona. On Tuesday, he will know the status of his crew chief, Chad Knaus, and car chief, Ron Malik, just how many weeks he will be without them at the racetrack.
That's right. That's the final level of appeal. Greg Biffle, our pole sitter, working his way back toward the front, currently in 8th place, 7 seconds off the lead. And you're riding with Clint Bowyer, who started 16th and has now climbed to 9th. And we saw A.J. Allmendinger a bit ago. We're going to see him again back here. He has slipped to 10th place.
Something's happening to that car.
We're in trouble. Just stay focused here, man. Get what you can get out of it. Not much we can do till we hit the pit road here. All clear. We hear you. All clear.
Krista?
A.J. Allmendinger came on the radio about lap 158 saying, "We're in trouble. I am loose." Then asked the team, "Did you get all the wheels tight?" They're worried possibly about a loose wheel, not just a loose race car. Also want to give you an update on Martin Truex. They were in the top 5. Now they're barely trying to hang on to the top dozen. Why? A slow pit stop. He told the team, "Do not give up all the position we gained on the track on pit road. Track position here is gold."
You cannot give up anything on pit stops here, that's for sure.
And right in that mix is Jamie McMurray, the 10th place car. Jamie started 17th in the number 1 Chevrolet.
Boy, it might be my imagination, but that 22 car looks like it's wobbling a little bit, wiggling a little bit.
Well, and Daryl, you know, she reported that possibly he thinks he may have a loose wheel.
Well, we've seen sun and we've seen shade, and the track condition seems to have changed a couple of times already, Jeff Hammond.
Yeah, Mike, it really has. From down here on top of the box, pit box was where it's really close to the track. We're noticing how it's covering up. It's getting blacker and blacker all the way from the bottom to the top. And I talked to Paul Wolf, the crew chief on Greg Keselowski, early this morning. That's exactly what they were planning on. Get him to where he can hang on for the first 150 to 200 laps, and the car would dial itself right back in where they were real happy at the end of practice yesterday afternoon.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah, who would ever believe, Jeff, that we would go 174 laps into this race and we've only had those 2 cautions?
But watching the lap times, it's like about 10, 15 laps ago, somebody flipped a switch. We lost in the racetrack itself and the run that we're on right now about 3/10. All of a sudden, cars were slowing down. I don't know, from the track rubbering up, I think.
Sunshine and shade. And slam bang. Of the 6 cars involved in that first incident, 5 of the 6, everybody but Carl Edwards, is back on the racetrack. Some of those cars look a little better than others. For the lead, Brad Keselowski inside of the 55 of Brian Vickers. And the winner here last August, trying to double up at Bristol.
I kind of like the way Keselowski in the 2 car, he kind of diamonds the corner. He'll go in a little high, then he'll cut to the bottom. So almost the best of both worlds.
Brian Vickers heads our list of Toyota top performers at lap 187. Clint Bowyer 9th, Truex 11th. Here's where they're running. The Food City people who've put on this race for the last 20 years hold a nice buffet for the drivers and some of the team personnel. And in the buffet line last night, I'm talking to Brad, and he'd tell everybody who'd listen, this is the best Cup car I've ever had here. He's proving it right now, Matt.
And Mike, about 25 laps ago, he said the same exact thing. He says, my car is unbelievably stable on entry, and the forward drive off is absolutely incredible. Paul Wolf told him, I know you've got a fast car, but keep in mind, try to save your tires if you can, because we won't come for new ones until around lap 250.
Yeah, Matt, they're still quite a ways from what would be a green flag pit stop, probably a good 50, 60 laps from right now.
I tell you, he's working Brian Vickers in the 55 over, though. He gets that run. He goes into the corner high right behind him and cuts to the bottom, tries to diamond the corner off a little bit. He's doing all he can. He wants that lead.
Keselowski trying to become the race's 5th different leader. Vickers has been out in front for 95 laps now. Allmendinger, Biffle have led. And on the pit stops, Dale Earnhardt Jr. was the first around to the timing line and led a lap. Tony Stewart, we saw him showing great patience earlier. Lately, not so much. Stewart's been mired back right around 15th place. It's 13th right now. And didn't show much patience getting past Eric Almirola. Gave him a little bump and run at turn 2. And he's climbed his way, scratched and clawed his way. Stewart has to 13th.
I think if I was Keselowski, I would want to get going, because if you look in the mirror, you can see here on our screen, there's Tony moving the 43 of Almirola out of the way. And the guys are holding. You hold him up, boy.
Well, then he got to David Stremme, who was a lapped car, and Stremme needed a little help.
Speaking of the 43, I want to say hello to Dale Inman, Hall of Famer, winning the Hall of Fame with me this year, and his wife Mary, giving our prayers and are with you guys today.
Riding here with Casey Mears. Keselowski still looking over Vickers for the lead. They're going to lap past Brendan Gaughan in the 33.
Well, the reason that Keselowski's getting a little impatient and he'd like to get around the 55, Jeff Gordon has caught these guys. You see him right there at the back of the picture. He's got a pretty good race car right now, Larry, and he's running some little bit better lap times than the 2 lead cars.
Yeah, actually, those 3 drivers in 3rd, 4th, and 5th are catching them. Gordon, Matt Kenseth, and Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Gordon just threaded the needle.
That tells you that car really is good for Jeff. He can kind of go where he wants to.
Moved past Casey Mears and Landon Castle. And Keselowski's backed off a bit from Vickers. He leaves Vickers to deal with David Reutimann, the lap car there. And Reutimann didn't like that so much.
Wonder why.
Would it have anything to do with that car that just lapped him?
I'm just saying.
You led me and I answered. That's the team actually David Ruderman drove for last year.
So Carl Edwards has a headset to listen in on what's going on. They still want to see if they can get his 99 back on track to run a couple of laps. That would move him up a few spots in the order. 7th place. Clint Bowyer taking it from Jimmy Johnson.
Clint Bowyer's car is another one I think they really made some good adjustments, because when I looked up before that second caution, he was not that far from going a lap down.
You're exactly right, Larry, and he's made a nice run back up through the field and sitting there in 7th place right now. Mikey's got a car leading, got one 7th, one 11th. Nice job today, buddy. Heck, we only got 300 more laps to go.
How about Brian Vickers, Dick?
Well, he just got on the radio, Mike, and he told the crew that he's pushing a little bit too much. And the thing he's really worried about, though, and he was worried about it in the first run, is the right rear going away. He's concerned about that right rear tire. Vickers is having a terrific run today. Believe it or not, he has led more laps today than all of the past 2 years.
Well, Darrell, why the particular concern about the right rear?
Well, these cars turn off the right rear. Used to back in the day, we turned off the right front. That right front would go in the corner, dig, and you'd cut the corner off the right front. These cars, the way they're built today, aero package and everything, the right rear spring does all the work. The right rear tire does all the work.
Which tells me also they've got Brian Vickers' 55 car turning good. It's still maybe a little on the free side. Probably another reason he's worried about that right rear.
Yeah, and what it's really done for Vickers, though, is he's been able to run high, which most time when your tires go away you do, but also see him get down on the bottom when he has to.
So we're about 40 to 50 laps from pit stops in the Food City 500. 205 complete in Thunder Valley.
NASCAR on Fox is sponsored by Chevrolet and their award-winning cars, trucks, and crossovers.
35 laps to halfway and about that many to pit stops. If we continue under green, Brad Keselowski continues to work on Brian Vickers for the lead. Keselowski is not one of the 4 drivers who've led this race so far, but continues to try to work his way to the front on the bottom.
He's going to force his way up right here. I'm pretty sure he's going to say thank you very much. I think Vickers was very polite. They worked together on that move, and Keselowski's got the lead.
One thing Brad Keselowski is not bashful about is driving that 2 car down in the corner.
Oh, no.
Brian Vickers has led 120 laps today, and that's more laps than he's led in the last 2 seasons combined.
Good swap there, Joey. That's cool. Yeah, set 4. Take a breather here. Need an update on the car.
Now they have about 1.2 seconds on Jeff Gordon in 3rd, Matt Kenseth and Dale Earnhardt Jr. with 21 cars running on the lead lap. How about a NASCAR on 5 short track style? Crank it up. way here at Bristol, Tennessee. First short track stop of the season. Jeff Gordon has closed right up on Brian Vickers for second place. Brad Keselowski is about 0.7 of a second ahead of them.
Right now, that 24 car of the top 5 or 6 cars running the best lap times, and that car looks really good for Jeff Gordon right now.
5-time Bristol winner Jeff Gordon. Larry, green flag pit stops coming up. You got to get your driver on the right side of pit road because pitting is different under green than caution. But
yeah, when we pit under caution, you know, it's the 2 pit roads connected by the apron. But under green, these drivers have to start thinking about, with feedback from the spotter and the crew chief, it's treated like 2 separate pit roads under green. And one thing also, Mike, you don't want to pit here until you absolutely have to, because when you do a green flag pit stop, you're going to lose 2 to 3 laps depending on where you're running to the leader.
Well, we've got comers and goers. Brad Keselowski has come to the front after being back toward midfield. His teammate, A.J. Allmendinger, started outside pole, and he's gone the other direction, Krista. He's back in 17.
Yeah, Mike, A.J. Allmendinger is using phrases like loose, wrecking, we're in trouble, and he just came on the radio and said unbelievable. He is falling back. The team telling him, just hang on, we'll get you fixed up. We've got to make our fuel window. Just hang on to it.
Well, I can't help but think to what Darrell said. When you look at our front row, Greg Biffle, our pole sitter, he has faded tonight. A.J. Allmendinger is basically about to go a lap down, set on the outside the front row.
Larry, and he's not kidding. There's something wrong with that 22 car. He has got to come to pit road or he's going to back it in the fence. That thing has got something loose or a tire going down or something. It's wobbling down the straightaway.
And here comes his teammate Keselowski to lap him.
Clear. Next car, just be smooth with it.
There, look at him. I mean, that car's been that way for the last, I don't know, 10, 15 laps. I don't know how he's kept from wrecking it.
Yeah, just look at his hands in there. The thing's sideways halfway down the straightaway.
Allmendinger will pit.
Now he's pitting on the back straightaway. So turn 2.
Hands off for him.
Once his stop is complete, he'll be able to leave right there just outside of his pit box into turn 3.
So A.J. Allmendinger begins this round of green flag pit stops. We'll be right back. Cover most of them for you.
NASCAR on Fox welcomes you back live here in Bristol, Tennessee, and approaching the halfway point as Jeff Gordon is challenging Brad Keselowski, and AT&T bringing you the mid-race report. Brian Vickers, driving for the first time this year, has led the most laps, 120. Keselowski surviving an early wreck to survive and get to the front of the pack. But who's wrecked early is the story. Favorites like Kyle Busch, Carl Edwards, Kevin Harvick surviving that wreck. It's had an effect on them in this race. That's why they're not at the front of the pack. Darrell, who are you watching?
I'm watching Jeff Gordon in that 24 car. Been watching him for quite a while. The car is solid as a rock. There's nobody better at Bristol. A 5-time winner here. Keep your eye on the 24 car.
Jeff Gordon was my pick before the race, big brother, but I'm looking at Matt Kenseth. This car is very fast. Matt knows how to win. I like the 17. What are you thinking, Larry Mack?
Michael, even though we have 250 laps to go, we may only be on pit road 2 or 3 more times. You've got to keep up with this track. Dick.
And Vickers is having one of the best races of his entire life, and he desperately needs it to get back in the big league. He is going to be pitting shortly. He has given great detailed feedback to the crew about how to fix the car, Mike.
Well, Brad Keselowski in the lead has been making great moves, confident moves. He says the best car he's ever had here. It must be. And I continue to be impressed with Brian Vickers' comeback drive today, Chris.
And Mike, only 2 cautions in the first half of a race at Bristol. That deserves a wow. How many will we see in the second half as things heat up and the stamina will be tested as well? And that is our AT&T mid-race report. As we look at 1961, this is Bristol, where an NFL preseason exhibition game played between the Redskins and the Eagles. And Darrell, you have often said the driving style it takes to win here is kind of like a football game. You need a little punt, pass, and kick.
Yeah, you do. And I'd like to welcome Peyton Manning to Tennessee. Well, we got to fight for the lead right here. I said I'd like to welcome him. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to, but hopefully I'll be able to.
Well, we just about welcomed Jeff Gordon to the lead as they came up on Kenny Schrader. Schrader gave way to the outside in his wounded car, but Gordon could not complete the pass. Greg Biffle, our pole sitter, on pit road. Paul Menard's been in. A couple of drivers have made green flag stops. Not many of the leaders, however. Steve with Biffle.
Greg Biffle saying the car is still a little bit loose, Mike, and he could use more turn in it. They're going to make an air pressure adjustment, 4 tires and fuel for the Biff.
Eric Almirola and David Gilliland in. But of the lead lap cars, the first 14 have yet to come to pit road.
And these slow cars are causing, I mean, they're like picks. And you just saw that Matt Kenseth was able to put a smooth move in there. And now he's battling for the lead.
As they make these green flag pit stops, as Kenseth's going to try on the high side, he'll just drive past Brad Keselowski.
Keselowski's coming to pit road.
And at 93, Travis Kvapil shot through because he's on fresh tires. He had already made his pit stop, Matt.
And they stayed out the first time, but now the car's way too free for the one car, Jamie McMurray. Meanwhile, Keselowski is in. Bad angle. He says, though, the car still has wonderful drive off, a little bit tight in the center, but that's how it's been the entire race. Solid stop so far. Work going on the left side, guys.
Matt Kenseth becomes the 6th different leader of this race. Now Joey Logano is in, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. Regan Smith has made his pit stop. Martin Truex is in. Steve.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. saying, my car is good. I'm waiting on the nose in the middle of the turns. They've made an air pressure adjustment and 4 tires. Matt.
17 of Matt Kenseth is in. Fuel goes in. They're going to make another track bar adjustment, trying to keep up with this racetrack that continues to change. The car's just too free, Dick.
Jeff Gordon has described to his team a number of ways that they can improve the behavior of the car. He has, however, been running much better than early in the race. Now,
a chassis adjustment for the 11 already completed for Denny Hamlin. Solid stop so far. He just has absolutely no grip in the center of the corner. A clean of the grill, and he's finally away.
Brian Newman has also made his pit stop. Here comes Jimmy Johnson to pit road. Brian Vickers back to the lead in this exchange, Matt.
And they were hoping to hold out to about lap 264. Everyone else pitting. Johnson comes to pit road. His biggest issue, the center of the corner. They were hoping to try to push in a spring rubber on this stop. Clean of the grill, and he is finally away.
So that leaves Brian Vickers as Juan Pablo Montoya comes to the pit lane, gives up 2nd position to do so. That leaves only Brian Vickers, who has not stopped in this green flag sequence. Krista.
Juan Pablo Montoya has steadily been gaining ground. He's been loose and went on the bottom of the racetrack. The wrench in the back, they're going to make an adjustment on this stop, as well as take the 4 tires.
And I know what they're doing with Brian Vickers. He has the entire field of drivers 1 or more laps down. As now he's coming to pit road. He was giving up a lot on the stopwatch right there.
Dick.
And Brian Vickers on pit road right now, Mike. They are going to make the adjustments that they need to this car, principally with air pressure. Vickers and his crew chief Rodney Childers have executed the changes that are necessary all during practice in this race, like a bunch of guys who have worked together for decades. Never mind for a weekend on this level.
He is going to go from the lead all the way back to about 15th place. By being the last to pit in this sequence.
But look right there, Brad Keselowski in the 2, putting Denny Hamlin in the 11 car. Started the season with 2 top 5 finishes, including the win at Phoenix, dismal at Vegas, and looks like not on it here today at Bristol.
Yeah, we really bragged on the Gibbs cars. You know, we thought, man, they've really turned the corner, made some changes over there, but not been having very good runs the last couple of weeks.
What happened to Hamlin on this stop?
Oh. Yeah, when he dropped the jack, it actually came down on the right rear tire that had come off, and it got him way behind on the left rear.
That's why Denny Hamlin is now gone a lap down, and I didn't see if they got all those lug nuts on the right rear tight.
He's actually complaining that he may have a loose wheel. That's what happens when you get behind. You start trying to make up time, and normally that leads to a mistake.
265 laps complete. Green flag stops just completed, and Brad Keselowski's lead 1/10 before the pit stops, half a second now.
NASCAR on Fox is sponsored by Frost Brewed Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer. By AT&T, the nation's largest 4G network. AT&T, rethink possible. And by DirecTV. If you call yourself a sports fan, you gotta get DirecTV.
Enter now for a chance to win the Camaro Synergy on a Talladega Race Weekend package and meet Tony Stewart. Visit wincamarosynergy.com now to place your entry. Brad Keselowski now 0.4 of a second up on Matt Kenseth. Kenseth closing as Keselowski battles Ryan Newman.
Well, guess what? He ain't going to get by Ryan Newman just real easy. Ryan will race him hard, buddy.
Ryan in 39 car trying his best to stay on the lead lap.
Now, while we were away, Denny Hamlin had to make a pit stop. Matt?
Mike, he could not wait any longer. Hamlin hit pit road for the loose wheel. It was the right front, not right rear. And obviously, looking at how difficult it is to make up ground here, frustration has set in the cockpit of the 11.
Hamlin now 25th, 2 laps down.
I feel his pain, man. I mean, you got to do your job. Everybody's got to do their job. Or on this track particularly, you're going to lose so much time. You're going to fall so far behind, and you can't make it up.
You know, one of the fastest drivers on the track right now, Jeff Burton, in that 31 car, he just drove by Jeff Gordon in the 24 and took that 3rd position away. He's actually about a 10th quicker, talking about Jeff Burton, than Brad Keselowski, our leader in the 2.
His team, Richard Childress Racing, won the Saturday race here.
Yeah, Gordon's car before that pit stop, Larry, was really, really good. Maybe it's a car that's going to be good on the long run and not so happy on fresh tires, but before that pit stop, he was really the best car on the track.
Daryl, I talked it at our mid-race report. I think this track continues to change, and now we don't have any sun. It's back cloudy again.
Jimmy Johnson in 8th place. He's 8.5 seconds off the lead. Trying to move up to Brian Vickers. But Vickers a full straightaway in front of him. And how about Clint Bowyer up in the top 5? About 3.3 seconds back. Steve?
Listening to Dale Earnhardt Jr., he told Steve Letarte the adjustment you made on the last stop helped. And Steve said it was just a quarter turn of a track bar adjustment. And Darrell was talking about the nationwide races in which Dale Earnhardt Jr. ran yesterday. His spotter, TJ Major, said, good job. You run the same line you did yesterday.
The 39 and a 2 right here. Ryan Newman has been really making me nervous. Keselowski's had that outside run on him a couple of times, and Ryan would pull right up in front of him, kind of like he did Matt Kenseth in 17 right there. But Keselowski used good patience, worked his way by, and he's all clear.
And I promise you, that little cat in that yellow 22 car, he's not going to go down easy trying to stay on the lead lap, A.J. Allmendinger.
Well, it took fully half the race to get Carl Edwards back on track in his number 99 Ford. Let's take you back to lap 23. Casey Kane in the 5 trying to clear Regan Smith in the 78. Squeeze play. Pile up. Keselowski sneaks through. But when it was over, 6 cars heavily involved. Marcus Ambrose, Kyle Busch, and damage also to the 29 of Harvick.
I tried all I could to get it stopped. Yeah, I didn't give you enough notice either. I had just glanced over to 2 and back, and it was already gone. I apologize. I should have given you more notice.
Smith and Harvick were able to continue with minor damage. The other 4 cars heavily damaged, but now all back in the race.
Mike, this joint is crazy. My wife was the best there was at keeping laps at racetracks. Even she can miss a lap here every now and then. And you go by so quick. You look up. You heard him say, sorry, I looked up to 2, and all of a sudden it happened. That's how quickly things can happen at this joint.
Well, we know we're not nowhere near the chase, but nobody knows the importance of gaining one spot on a racetrack, any race, than Carl Edwards. Remember, a tie with Tony Stewart last year. Stewart wins the tiebreaker by most wins. That was in the chase. Every position is important every week.
A lot of guys, I mean, you look at Jimmy Johnson, 5 consecutive championships. That's impossible to do, because when you lose one, you can't get over it. You don't just flip a switch and put that out of your mind and you don't deal with it anymore. I've seen that happen to Denny Hamlin already. I saw it happen to Carl now. It's hard to put that out of your mind, buddy.
So Edwards is in 40th, and his only chance to gain ground at this point in the race is if several of the cars running fail to finish he'll pick up 1 point per position.
But I think there's a sense of pride of not having a did not finish. Carl Edwards, it's been well over a year since he had a DNF. They had none last year.
Yeah, April of 2010 was the last race that Edwards failed to finish. Brad Keselowski leads Matt Kenseth by half a second. 205 laps to go in Bristol.
NASCAR on Fox from Bristol, Tennessee. Under 200 laps to go. 11 lead changes, 7 different leaders, and only 2 cautions. The story of the race summed up Brian Vickers. His first run this year has led the most laps. Brad Keselowski dodged problems last week. Both of Roger Penske's cars have led today. And Casey Kane, an early wreck involving 6 cars. Points leader Greg Biffle, the pole sitter, led the first 41 laps, but has been out of the top spot since. As we welcome back Mike Joy.
Thanks, Chris. The track back in full sun once again. It was shade when we went to break. Brad Keselowski's lead over Matt Kenseth is now just at 1 second. Jeff Burton third, and this battle for fourth. Clint Bowyer trying to hold off Jeff Gordon, who runs in fifth. Let's take an inside look at what's happening in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, brought to you by Sprint. Greg Biffle, fastest lap of the race. Brian Vickers has led the most laps. Get unlimited access with live in-car audio and real-time stats available through the NASCAR Sprint Cup mobile app on your Android-powered device. Learn more at sprint.com/speed. Keselowski is closing on series champion Tony Stewart and Kevin Harvick in front of him. Now, earlier I mistakenly said Stewart finished third here last August. Actually, that 3 stood for 3 laps down. He went down 1 lap early and finished the race 3 laps in arrears. Told his crew, don't bring back whatever we had last year. But Stewart sees the leader filling up his mirror. Krista.
He also feels like he has the Addington advantage. Steve Addington, the crew chief, has won races here with Kyle Busch. He's won races with Kurt Busch. Tony Stewart says, I've got a secret weapon at this track, and it's my crew chief.
Well, Krista, the biggest problem, these drivers, they've not had an opportunity to make many pit stops to make their race car better. As mentioned, only 2 cautions. Some drivers only made 3 pit stops so far.
What are Brad Keselowski and his team saying as he closes in on Stewart?
You're like swallowing razor blades here, man. It's not going to be easy. Keep working on them. 5 back to Matt. How many to go? 220. 220 laps. Like patting the porcupine, man. It ain't fun. Keep digging. You're doing great.
Let me tell you what's the most sickening feeling you can have when you've been driving as hard as these guys have and you go by the flag stand and they put cross flags and you say there ain't no way I can keep going at this pace.
Meaning halfway.
Halfway, yeah. And so, man, I don't know if I can make it or not. And always a little bit concerned when a driver starts wanting to know how far do we, how many more laps we got to run. Always worries me a little bit. I stress stamina because it's a huge factor at this racetrack.
Now Keselowski's trying to be respectful of Tony Stewart, not use up his car, not use up Stewart's, but look behind Keselowski, that flash of yellow. That's second place Matt Kenseth, and he's closing in.
Brad Keselowski in the 2, you can see just a little bit of damage on the front of his race car. That was from that very first caution that we had back on lap 23, the big wreck on the front straightaway.
And it looks like Kenseth's been in the fence. The right side of his car has some damage.
And when I watch Tony Stewart sit here and he's racing Brad Keselowski in the 2 as hard as he is, I have a flashback to Martinsville last year. Tony was about to go a lap down in that race at Martinsville, and he raced the leader so hard, and I kept thinking, Tony, why don't you let the leader go? Got a caution, got back, got that lap back, and won the race.
That's right. Well, Brian Vickers just drove by Dale Jr. on the outside. Let's check with Steve on Junior's car.
And Dale Jr. has lost the handle a bit, Mike. He was saying, I've got too much rotation from the center off, and I've lost forward bite.
Well, it's such a challenge to try to plant that 850 horsepower with the rear wheels spinning.
Meanwhile, Keselowski, he's the leader in the number 2. He still can't get by Tony Stewart. To clear Stewart, put him a lap down. Suddenly Matt Kenseth is there.
Keselowski's a little bit better in and through the middle, but Tony got that momentum up off the high side of the corner, and he's able to pull him down the straightaway. That gets so frustrating when you just need to get by this guy. I mean, the guy in second place is right here. Come on, man, give me a break.
And they're closing in on slower cars. That'll get even more interesting. Matt?
Mike, knowing the pace and feel of this race so far, we could have just one more stop on pit road in about 70 laps. Kenseth telling Jimmy Finnick, we need to reverse our track bar adjustment. It's made my entry worse, much harder to drive, much freer. No change across the middle. The exit's fine, but that's what we should be looking at for our next stop. The car's good, but not great.
And now we're seeing why Tony Stewart fought Keselowski so hard, because as Keselowski gets up into these other lap cars, Stewart risks no longer being the first car one lap down and in position to get a free pass.
But he
raced, get a caution.
He raced the leader hard, Keselowski, but as soon as Brad got by him, when Matt Kenseth got to him, he let him go because nothing to be gained there.
And we're closing in about 40 to 50 laps. What will be another set of green flag pit stops should we go without a caution.
175 laps left in the Food City 500 at Bristol, Tennessee. Brad Keselowski in command.
NASCAR on Fox is sponsored by Sprint, proud sponsor of the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series.
165 laps to go. Matt Kenseth breathing down Brad Keselowski's neck. Here's our Ford F-150 EcoBoost track facts. Ford's 33 Cup wins here, second most all time, and tied for the most Bristol poles at 36. Carl Edwards has the last 2 Ford victories at Bristol. Matt Kenseth right on the back bumper of Brad Keselowski, trying to give Ford another one here with 163 to go. And how about Kevin Harvick? He got caught up in that crash at lap 23. Larry said they made 9 pit stops under caution to try to keep that car on the lead lap. They've done it. They've done a great job. And here is Harvick trying to keep his Chevrolet on the same lap with the leaders.
And if Denny Hamlin doesn't get out of his way pretty soon, we might have a caution.
Yeah, I've been watching him, Daryl, for about 10 or 12 laps. He's about had enough of Denny Hamlin. There's no love lost there anyhow between Harvick and Hamlin.
30 car just pounded the wall.
David Stremme.
But what a break for Kevin Harvick and Jamie McMurray, and the one in particular, not that far from being lapped by our leader, Brad Keselowski.
Well, Harv's leading a pretty charmed life today. Go through that wreck he went through, the damage he has on that car, and
Smoke's persistence paid off. He ran Keselowski hard to try to stay the first car one lap down, and now he gets the free pass.
Here I am, deja vu all over again. Reminds me of Martinsville.
See what happened to David Stremme here. Red car coming into view.
I think you'll see him just shoot up the hill here, right there, off turn 4. I saw it out the corner of my eye. He blew it right front. Looked like something happened on the right front.
Ouch.
Ouchie. That was going to get interesting, guys, with the 2 and the 17 catching these lap cars, and they were all pretty good race cars. That could have gotten a little dicey.
Well, we've not had a caution in what, some 200 laps.
Yeah, the last caution was back on 115.
Right. So they will clean up, and when safe to do so, open pit road. We have right now 14 cars on the lead lap. Stewart will make it 15.
You can make it from here, couldn't you, Larry?
You're right there on top of it.
Yep.
Yeah, right. I think the race pace has slowed down enough that you can. I'm sure all drivers will get 4 tires and try to pack that tank full of Sunoco race fuel, Dick.
Clint Boyer has gone from 16th to 4th, Mike, or Larry, and Brian Patty, his crew chief, is going to make just very minor adjustments with air pressure, Krista.
The mayor, Jeff Burton, says his car is losing rear grip. He asked the team to slow down the swing. How will they do that? With a track bar adjustment. Matt.
And talking about the cars that were first and second, Matt Kenseth, he wants to reverse that track bar adjustment, try to get back some of that stability in the center of the corner. Meanwhile, the Blue Deuce gasses it up into his pit box. He says, if anything, we're a touch worse in the center of the corner. Slight track bar adjustment. He feels like his car from the middle of the run off, Steve, is just a rocket.
Matt, Dale Earnhardt Jr. just reiterated that he's got too much rotation in the center, and that makes him loose off. 4 tires for Dale Earnhardt Jr. and an air pressure adjustment on the 88.
Keselowski wins the race off pit road. He and Kenseth like they're welded together.
And they're respecting those timelines today, Larry. I mean, they know there's more lines here than there was back last year, and the guys are really being cautious.
Yeah, it looked like about everyone went out where they came in for the most part.
Tony Stewart will be the last car on the lead lap. Remember, he's the free pass car on this caution. And now the lap down cars are making their stops.
Yeah, pit road is real busy on this cycle of caution lap stops.
But Larry, go ahead. You mentioned that everybody sort of came out where they went in. In theory, the way they got this pit road set up now, that's the way it's supposed to work.
Joey Logano, one of the few cars one lap down. Eric Almirola, Ryan Newman, Logano, A.J. Allmendinger, Kurt Busch, and Denny Hamlin are the cars one lap down. Let's check in with Jeff Hammond at the University of Farmers.
Mike, right now at this part of the race with about 155 laps to go, it's all about track position. These crew chiefs right now are sitting there thinking, what happens if another caution comes out? What do we do? If our car's off a little bit and you're leading the race, do you stay out? Do you come in? You make an adjustment for the weather? What's it going to be? 2 tires, 4 tires, or no tires? A lot of pressure over the last 150 laps on making the right call.
And of course, we saw it yesterday in that race, just, you know, trying to stay up front where you don't have to battle so many drivers for position, battle drivers that are 1 or more laps down.
156 to go. Brad Keselowski has led 119 laps today. He led 89 laps here when he won last August and got Roger Penske his 9th victory at Bristol.
Just don't want any gremlins. You know, they got bit last week at Vegas with some fuel pickup issues. This team and this car is fast enough to win this race if they don't have any gremlins.
You know, I think a couple of drivers that were really glad to see this caution was Clint Bowyer and Brian Vickers, because they still seem like they had some very good race cars.
Under caution with 156 laps to go. Here's our 5-hour energy moment of the race. And clearly it is Brad Keselowski in the number 2 back at lap 23, getting through what became a 6-car pileup down in turn number 1. So close there on Kasey Kahne. One car took the wave around, and that would be the 11 of Denny Hamlin.
You got to have everything going your way to win here. You got to have a little bit of luck, and that was a little bit of luck.
Kasey Kahne, one of the cars badly damaged in that crash. He's back out there and running along with Marcus Ambrose, Kyle Busch, and Carl Edwards. Kevin Harvick had minor damage. As we restart, Jeff Gordon with a look inside, but nowhere to go.
That was close on the 17 car beating the 2 car to the line. The leader has to hit the line first, and that was mighty close.
Boy, Keselowski slid way up the racetrack trying to protect his lead. Here comes Kenseth on the outside.
Yeah, Matt Kenseth in the 17 gets such a good run on the high side. It may take him a few laps because Keselowski is not going to go over easy.
Loose. They touch.
Easy here. Easy here. Outside.
And
I saw you slip.
Keselowski may have to give it up to Kenseth for the lead.
I don't think that's a bad thing to do right now. Brad's car has been awfully good after several laps. Get some air, get the air pressure built up a little bit and get that bottom working for you. You'll be okay.
Darrell, are you surprised Keselowski chose the inside lane on the restart?
I really was, because we've seen over and over and over again that outside was the best. But his car's been working so good on the bottom. But I want to tell you something. This was close to who got to the line first.
You better believe it was close. I'm not so sure it wasn't beyond close.
It's not supposed to be that way.
I mean, that pretty much tells it right there. But yeah, this may be the first time this weekend we've seen the leader choose the inside on a restart.
Second place car not allowed to beat the leader to the line on the restart, but close counts. Big battle here for third. Clint Bowyer on the outside, Jeff Gordon and Jeff Burton hunting third place.
Well, Keselowski has had the dominant car. No matter, there's been other guys that have come up there to race with him a little bit, but he's had the best car. And you can see back here, this is tense. Whoa, tense racing.
Burton's got a fight on the bottom. It's the short way around, but it's not the fast way around. Look at the drive off that the 15 gets off the corner. And Jeff Gordon wants another shot.
And there's a bunch of guys just lined up here waiting for something to happen. Hopefully it won't happen and mess me up, but just waiting for these guys to decide what they're going to do.
I think we were riding with one of them, Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 88. Remember on that last run, he felt the handling was going away on his race car. Looks like they've definitely made some adjustments, but remember, he's on pretty fresh tires right now.
And Brian Vickers is right there. So too Jimmy Johnson, Martin Truex, and the number 16 of our pole sitter, Greg Biffle. They're all pretty much nose to tail as Hendrick Chevy teammates Dale Jr. and Jeff Gordon go side by side. .144 laps to go.
Looking out of the back of Clint Bowyer's car right there, you can see Jeff Burton, but Bowyer's starting to gap him a little bit. Bowyer running third right now, and another one of Michael's cars that's having a great day.
Up front, Keselowski trying to mount yet another charge and take the lead from Matt Kenseth, who's led 14 laps today in his Ford. 142 to go, and the sun's back out in Bristol. Cautions breed cautions. When we left you, Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Jeff Gordon were battling side by side for fifth. Watch the contact between them and watch the left rear tire on Gordon's car, top of your screen.
It's all good, all good. They make contact right there, and when you go by, you see the left rear is down.
And that's right about where the tailpipes exit on the right side of Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s car.
Yeah, you can see a little damage on the side of Junior's car where the tailpipes got in there, the jack stop. Right there, they touched.
And there you see the two exhaust pipes behind that arrow, which is the jack post, and you see the tire mark pretty clear. And we heard from Jeff Gordon.
Oh, we're in the wall. Yeah, Junior just cut our left rear. Thank you, Junior. Appreciate it, buddy. That just sucks right there. I was just getting ready to give it to him, too.
Meaning
give him going anywhere.
Sorry, meaning give him the position. They were racing side by side.
I'm hoping he meant the position. I think he did.
And here's what Dale Jr. said.
I'm sorry about that. Yeah, Temple, but we'll let him know. We'll let him know. You're doing all you can out there. I know you are. Hopefully I didn't knock the right front off of it. We barely stopped. I mean, it was barely. I mean, it wasn't hard enough that I knocked the air out of the left rear tire.
We went into this race with 3 5-time Bristol winners, and they've all had trouble today. Kyle Busch got caught up in the lap 31 crash. His older brother Kurt Busch slapped the wall between 1 and 2, and now Jeff Gordon goes off on the hook.
Yeah, I mean, Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s right. He didn't really touch him that hard, but those exhaust pipes stick out there like a razor blade cutting that tire.
Yeah, you can see right there, there's a tailpipe, and just it doesn't even stick out past the body, but when you touch and it pushes it in a little bit, then the pipe's right there.
Larry, 135 laps to go. You were on pit road 20 laps ago.
Yeah, well, actually, we were on pit road sooner than that because we only ran just a handful of laps, about maybe 10 laps since we had that restart. If you're maybe one of the cars or one of the drivers at the tail end of the lead lap, maybe come on in and get that insurance more adjustments.
Let's check with Chris Myers, get an AT&T race break.
All right, thanks, Mike. And if you're wondering, you were talking about 5-time Bristol champs or those that were favorites coming into this race, the 4th race of the NASCAR season, but the first short track race. Let's go back to lap 24. And Kasey Kahne, he's had, what, 3 different cars this year so far that have been good, but here he has trouble as he's tapped by Regan Smith. 6 cars involved in this wreck on lap 24.
Yeah, you just can't see what's happening ahead of you, Chris. You're down in these high bank turns. What's happening up ahead is a mystery, and usually it causes frustration.
Yeah, Kyle Busch was taken out of it. Carl Edwards was taken out of it. Eventually they come back, but they're not in the picture in terms of who's going to win this. Someone who survived that wreck was Brad Keselowski, and then you see in a restart going toe-to-toe moments later with Matt Kenseth as Keselowski led more than 100 laps. And then moments ago, Jeff Gordon, these are Hendrick teammates. We had 4 teammates last week with Roush Fenway Ford having some problems. We joked, asked you about your Michael Waltrip Racing teammates early. You said, hey, as long as they don't wreck. And here, whose fault was that, by the way? That's not just one of those racing deals. You got to think smart. You got a couple of veterans out there.
But it's intensity, Chris. Every lap that goes by, you get more and more serious about grabbing a position. You saw Brad Keselowski and Matt Kenseth rub. Then all of a sudden, Jeff Gordon gets into the side of, Dale Jr. gets into the side of Gordon and cuts his tire. That was just a little bump. It was a bump in the wrong spot, though, because those tailpipes come out on the right side, cut that tire down, and boom, Jeff Gordon's in the wall.
Communication between teammates. We had the spotter issue with Kasey Kahne, his cousin, the spotter. I mean, teammates overrated, especially when you get on a short track like this?
Well, at the end of Vegas, you saw Roush teammates, Kenseth and Biffle, racing each other very hard. Carl Edwards as well. So as an owner, that's your worst nightmare, that your cars get together and mess each other up. Same thing with Mr. Hendrick right now as his car got crashed because of a teammate rubbed him. But, man, it's Bristol. You're going to rub a little bit. Those rubs usually don't cut a tire.
Yeah, Rick Hendrick trying to win his 200th Cup race. Let's check in with Dick Berggren.
And Jeff Gordon has emerged from the care center. Dale Earnhardt Jr. said you barely bumped. Your version of the situation.
Well, I think we bumped more than we should have is the way it looks like. I mean, yeah, we definitely didn't hit, you know, in the right location because I think the tailpipe or something just cut the left rear immediately. I mean, we didn't hit that hard. You know, we were a little bit too tight. And he was pretty good on the restart there. We were racing hard, and you know, I know that it wasn't intentional, but it certainly ruined our day. And I hate it for Drive to End Hunger. Encourage everybody to text Hunger to 50555. I hate it for this race team. There were times we had the best car out there, and I think we could have got back to that before this thing was over.
They had a shot to win it, Chris.
Yeah, we talked about on the pre-race show, thanks, Dick, and Jeff, about even teammates. This is the place where feelings get hurt. You run into each other. He was your pick, a guy who's had more short tracks victories than any other driver in this race.
Yeah, it's been 10 years since he got the victory here in Bristol, and I thought he had the car to do it, and it certainly looked that way early. Now you got to watch old Matt Kenseth. He's the guy now.
And Michael Waltrip Racing, too. How'd you get to be an owner? You said you didn't have any money.
I got a great partner.
Okay, well, we'll watch for Brian Vickers, Clint Boyer, some of your guys. That's our AT&T race break. And you can see drivers, how they're doing by texting yourself fast to 34763 or visiting AT&TfastestDriver.com for a chance to win 4Gs. That's 4,000, all brought to you by the nation's largest 4G network, Rethink Possible. For Michael Waltrip, Chris Myers in the Hollywood Hotel, let's join Darrell Waltrip, Larry McReynolds, and Mike Joy.
Thanks, Chris. Getting set for this restart. It'll come with 130 to go, or 129 to go, because they'll give 1 to go this time by. Matt Kenseth's Ford, Brad Keselowski's Dodge, Clint Boyer's Toyota, and Jeff Burton's Chevrolet are the front 4 in this restart. We'll have 15 cars on the lead lap as Ryan Newman gets the free pass on this caution. Friday on Ultimate Fighter Live, 15 contenders from Team Faber and Team Cruz battle to stay on top. Who will be the next to fight? Don't miss the Ultimate Fighter Live, Friday 10 p.m. only on FX.
Mike, the top 8 drivers stayed out, and as anticipated, some drivers at the back of the lead lap, Martin Truex Jr., McMurray, Menard, Montoya, Harvick, Tony Stewart, all pitted. Who that caution really benefited? Remember, Denny Hamlin took the wave around the last caution, didn't pit. Now he's only 1 lap down here with about 130 laps to go.
Hamlin in 19th.
Keselowski ought to be happy. He started on the inside on the last restart, chose to be there. This time he's forced down there because Kent's is taking the outside. So see how it works out for him this time. Not so good last time.
Pace car's in there, 10 away from the mark. 5.
Pace car scoots.
Get ready, trigger green. Everything's rolling good up there. No pressure mirror. 48 fast. Everything's rolling good in front of you there, real good.
Outside lane gets the break, but here comes Keselowski for the lead.
And the only two drivers I've seen that their cars right now seemingly work on the bottom is Brad Keselowski in the 2 and Clint Bowyer in that 15.
Yeah, Clint's car's been really good on the bottom. Right now he's behind Jeff Burton in the 31. Burton's pretty good down there too. Kenseth likes that high line, gets some momentum up off the corner.
Riding with Clint Bowyer. Jeff Burton ahead, and a look back to 7th place, Jimmie Johnson. And our points leader in the Sprint Cup Series, Greg Biffle.
Haven't talked about Jimmie Johnson much today, but he's been solidly in the top 10 just about all day long. Had a decent car.
And you think about Greg Biffle in the 16, our pole sitter starts the season with 3 top 5s. The last time a driver had 4 top 5s to start the season, Jimmie Johnson in the 48 in 2008.
Steve?
And Mike, talking about our pole sitter Greg Biffle, he says his car's been good today, but it's just been a little bit inconsistent. He said the entry, sometimes it's loose, sometimes it's tight.
Well, I think this track has been somewhat going through that much of a transition. We've been talking about sun in, sun out, clouds out.
Yeah, I think that's where the effect comes from. You know, when it's sunny, I'm loose. When it's not, I'm a little tight. So that's the game they've been playing in the pits all day, trying to figure out what it's going to do next.
Burton up high, Bowyer down low. Same thing at the front of the pack. Kenseth high, Keselowski low. The inside is the short way around. The upper groove has more banking. It's the faster way around. Matt?
And Mike, they're both battling the same exact problem. Car way too free. Keselowski said when he's on the bottom like he is right now, going side by side, the car is absolutely free. Can't believe how much aero is factoring into it. While Kenseth, his car is way too free on exit.
Free means you can't be aggressive. You can't jerk the car and you can't pull it to the bottom. You got to work the gas and the steering wheel together so that you don't get the car loose and spin it out. That's free.
And Darrell, probably the lower you try to run, the more that problem's magnified.
Sure,
would you say?
It's a sharper corner. When you get down on the bottom like that, you got to cut it more, and that's what makes you loose.
Burton decides the 3rd place battle for the moment. Keselowski's going to come off the corner even with Kenseth. But with that, they almost touch getting down into turn 1.
That bottom will prevail if you have the patience to stay down there and work it. You keep inching up a little bit every time. Every turn you get a little closer to getting in front of the guy. Plus, the other thing you like to do when you're down there like that is maybe Matt Kenseth in the 17 will overdrive the corner.
Yep.
By being on the outside. So you just got to keep the pressure on right here.
Darrell, are either of these two drivers in danger of using up their stuff? We've still got 117 laps to go.
I don't think you really can't worry about that.
Okay.
You know, at this point in the race, Mike, use it up. We've only got 107.
That's
it's
true.
not 107. We've only got 117 to go.
And what was impressive, Matt Kenseth and Brad Keselowski in the 17-2, even going side by side, they were not losing any ground to Jeff Burton and Clint Bowyer.
That's right, Larry. This is the new Bristol. It's no longer the bump and run of the old Bristol, but it's a track where you can run lap after lap, side by side, due to the progressive banking, and neither driver, they've got to work hard to find an edge when you can run side by side, lap after lap, like you can here now.
And I mentioned earlier that right now Keselowski in the 2, he's trying to diamond the corner. He runs in the corner right up behind Kenseth, but then he tries to cut to the bottom and get a run down the straightaway equal to what Kenseth gives.
Side by side lead, close for 3rd and 4th.
NASCAR on Fox is sponsored by Toyota.
104 laps to go. And Brad Keselowski powered past Matt Kenseth to reclaim the lead. Those 4 car lengths are worth about 0.4 of a second. Here's the pass for the lead. They were side by side for about a full lap. And Kenseth went way up high, and Keselowski shoved it deep into the corner and emerged with the lead.
If you just keep working that bottom, man, working that bottom, you'll inch your way by and eventually get in front of the guy, but it takes a lot of patience.
Keselowski has led 50% more laps than when he won here last August.
The easiest way around this joint to run up high. It doesn't take as much effort, and it's a lot easier. The hard way around here, but the fast way is right on the bottom, and that takes a lot of effort.
Clint Boyers won his battle with Jeff Burton, Dick. Now he's all alone in third.
And Ty Norris, his spotter, keeps telling Clint Bowyer that he should not only save gas, but that he is the fastest car on the racetrack. That number 15's got a shot to win this thing, Mike.
Jeff Burton also having to save fuel. They decided to stay out under that last caution because track position has been his friend. He started 33rd in this race, but he is in contention due to staying out.
All these drivers pitted with about 159 laps to go. We felt like with the cautions they've got, Matt, that they should be able to make it, but there may be more issues with our leader.
And Larry Mack, Brad Keselowski came on the radio 2 laps ago and started yelling, "Get ready, get ready, get ready. I may have a flat." Joey Meyer, his spotter, also his pilot, looked at the right sides, said those look fine, the lefts look fine. He said the lap before you went a little too high and got up in the marbles. Maybe you got a little bit of stuff on your tires. Give it a lap or 2 to clean off and get back to us.
Well, whatever he's got, he better leave it alone. He just ran like a 2/10 quicker than the other guys that he's racing with, so it looks okay from here.
Yeah, in the marbles, the rubber just gathers at the top part of the racetrack, and sometimes you'll get up there and pick some of that up. With your hot tires, it'll make you feel like you've got a flat.
Now, about 20 laps ago when he was trying to get by Matt Kenseth, there's a little contact at the right front. So I'm not sure if there could be a slow leak or if it's something else.
Yeah, normally when you make contact like this, it cuts the sidewall down, and it usually is pretty instant, like we saw with Jeff Gordon earlier. Okay. So I got to believe he just picked up some debris on his tires. He panicked a little bit, thought he had a flat. I'll tell you, the way this team has run, the troubles they've had, you get this late in the race, got a great race car, you start feeling and hearing things that you hadn't been hearing all day.
Plus, Darrell, you're pulling away with 90 laps to go, and suddenly something's not right. I think anybody would panic in that situation. We're going to take an inside look at what's happening in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, brought to you by Sprint. We'll take you on board for a ride around the track with Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Real loose in, real loose off. Simple, real loose in, real loose off. Gotcha.
Get unlimited access to the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series on your Android-powered device. Learn more at sprint.com/speed. Dale Jr. in 6th, just ahead of him, Brian Vickers, scrapping with the 31 of Jeff Burton. And what a comeback race for Vickers, who's been out of the seat since last November and has picked up this 6-race deal with Michael Waltrip Racing.
I am impressed. I really am impressed with Brian. The quality of his driving today, his decision making, all the things it takes to be good at Bristol. He's been on his game today.
You know, just 2 spots behind Brian Vickers, Martin Truex Jr. in the 56 car. This just goes to show you can't afford to have a bad pit stop, because, Krista, remember, they had a bad stop early in the race, and it's taken them all race to recover, Krista.
Yeah, it has. Martin tried to act as a cheerleader to his team earlier in the race, but you know, Larry, he's been good all weekend. They were so good in practice. The teammate Clint Bowyer actually used Martin's setup for this race. Martin also made a track bar adjustment that has certainly helped.
Right now, Michael Waltrip Racing, they have cars running in 3rd, 5th, and 7th.
Martin Truex second here last August. In 1927, record producer Ralph Peer taped local folk music, and Bristol is the birthplace of country music.
NASCAR on Fox is sponsored by Subway Restaurants, serving up fresh takes on Italian. Subway, eat fresh. And by Farmers. We are insurance. We are farmers.
75 laps to go. Brad Keselowski skillfully negotiated traffic, but that brought Matt Kenseth right back to his bumper. And there they sit, 1-2, Dodge and Ford with 74 to go.
That 17 is stalking, right? He's back there lurking around, just looking things over.
And here's your third place car, Clint Bowyer. He's 3.5 seconds back. First of the Toyotas. And about 1.5 seconds behind Bowyer is Brian Vickers. What a great drive he has had. A couple of lap cars there. Casey Mears and Casey Kane. Dave Blaney. And here's Vickers. Having a great drive from 25th place. Dale Earnhardt Jr. led a couple of laps today.
Heard the juniors say a little while ago that his car was loose in and loose off. So he's fighting two pretty important things here. Can't get in, can't get off.
Jeff Burton didn't qualify well, but he's been up in the top half dozen since skipping the first caution flag pit stop. And here's Martin Truex.
Yeah, he was one of the drivers that came to pit road on that last caution. So we feel like if any of the others are a little marginal on fuel, he definitely would be one that should be able to make it to the end.
Jimmy Johnson running 8th, and Greg Biffle, our pole sitter, there in 9th, along with the rest of the leaders except Truex. They stopped back at lap 342. Truex came in at 367, and so did Tony Stewart, who used a free pass to get back onto the lead lap and then fought his way up into the top 10. Boy, he and Montoya have spent a lot of time together today, those two red cars. But Montoya also came in at 367. Along with his teammate Jamie McMurray, and they run 11th and 12th on the lead lap.
And this is great for Jamie McMurray. Had that 8th place finish at Las Vegas last week, working here trying to get maybe 2 consecutive top 10 finishes.
The other 2 Childress cars, Paul Menard and Kevin Harvick, also came in at 367. They can go the distance. Menard in 13th. And Kevin Harvick, despite that crash damage at lap 24, he's been on the lead lap the whole rest of the day.
Menard is interesting. Every year, start the season, he and Slugger Labbe are really good. They got a great race car. They run up front. They need to figure out what they're doing wrong in the last half of the season, because they got the first half nailed.
And the final lead lap car is Ryan Newman. Newman got the free pass on this most recent caution to put him back on the lead lap. And along with Kurt Busch's 1 lap down. He is one of 5 cars 1 lap in arrears.
Yeah, with 65 to go, Joey Logano in the 20 right now is the first driver lap down. Joey would certainly love to see a caution get his free pass.
How close are we going to be on fuel, Larry?
I think for those top 6 or 7 drivers, I know we had those cautions. It's going to be borderline, and I think we've heard that chatter on the radio.
Eric Almirola qualified well, started 7th. He is 1 lap down behind Logano. And then our outside pole sitter, A.J. Allmendinger, had a car that just went evil handling on him. Couldn't drive it, pulled it in, got tires, and he is currently 18th, 1 lap down.
Yeah, he fought with that car there that one stretch where the car was just sideways on the straightaways. That got him behind, hadn't been able to catch back up. Allmendinger.
So we saw Kurt Busch in 19th. Here's Denny Hamlin 20th. He's the last car 1 lap down. Took the wave around 2 cautions ago and then cycled back with everybody else. With 62 laps to go, we'll take you side by side. You are watching NASCAR on Fox. "56 laps to go in Bristol, and Brad Keselowski's got to wonder, how much does Matt Kenseth have left for him, and when will Kenseth make his move?
You know, Mikey, I've been impressed with Brian Vickers. I was worried about his conditioning, but these guys today, they have such great training programs. They don't get tired as like I guess we used to, huh?
Well, Darrell, you know there's a big difference though between gym shape and racing shape. These cars will beat you around in ways you never thought possible. So you're right. What Brian Vickers is doing is impressive. His lap times are solid. I'm not sure Rodney Childers, Vickers' crew chief, was being completely transparent with Dick, because I got a text saying, oh no, we're pretty close on gas. So there's still a lot of drama. But Darrell, you've got 2.5 hours. 450 laps invested in this baby. You want to bring it home now.
Yeah, and what Michael's talking about, Dick Berggren was telling us during commercial that Rodney Childers told him they were good to go. I definitely think there's even some games played with our pit reporters sometime, knowing they're going to report it on the broadcast.
Well, sure, good to go is TV talk for I think we can make it.
No, good to go is TV talk for, I think there may be another caution.
Okay.
I'm hoping.
You know, you talked about Biffle at the start of the show, Darrell, our point leader. Look at there, driving around Jimmy Johnson. That's a fast car. Biffle stood up to the challenge today.
Yeah, you know, starting on the pole, you know, I never understand that. You got the fastest car, you're on the pole, but your chances of winning are pretty slim. You'd think that would give you an advantage.
Yeah, it's been since 1999 since a pole winner won the spring race here at Bristol. Rusty Wallace did it. That's a long time in this sport.
This cat here, Martin Truex, he has a little bit more gas than some of the guys in front of him, so I'm sure he's comfortable and confident that he can get to the finish, and his car's fast. Looks like he's going to make the move up from the little squeeze play there getting around Jeff Burton, but Truex rallying from a bad pit stop earlier in the race, now up to the 6th spot, and he has a fast car too.
Was that TV talk for, he almost put my car in the fence?
I think that's what that was.
That's when you get on that radio and say, tell his spotter.
Right. Of the top 10, 2 drivers we're sure have enough fuel to make the finish, and that's Martin Truex and Tony Stewart. Leaders working Kurt Busch here. Kenseth lurking on Brad Keselowski with 47 to go. Side by side, almost, and that hold just closes right up, Matt.
Mike, you can add the 2 of Keselowski and the 17 of Kenseth to the list of guys that can make it to the end on fuel. Joey Meyer, Keselowski's spotter, keeps telling him it's a wash down in 1 and 2. You 2 are even, but where he is getting you is right before the center down in 3 and 4. That's where you're vulnerable.
Now, I tell you where they're vulnerable at is getting around these lap cars. That just about opened the door for Kenseth to get by Keselowski. The 51 of Busch there was a pick.
Well, this is going to be a tough one next because Allmendinger is racing Almirola for position. They were side by side, but Allmendinger is Keselowski's teammate. Goes single file to give the leaders a clear path.
Yeah,
AJ Allmendinger just took one for the team right there.
I believe so, but I think that 17 is a little bit better than the 2 right now. The 17 looks like he's going to be able to make a pass here before this thing gets too much further along.
42 laps to go.
And they're actually coming up on Ryan Newman in the 39 car. Ryan would be the last car on the lead lap right now.
See right here, this 43 car of Almirola, this could be Keselowski's worst. Nah, it's going to work out. I thought they might use him for a pick.
And Almirola's done a good job today. Started 7th, running 17th as the leaders go by and continue to battle. Well, it's harvest time in Thunder Valley. 35 laps to go. Brad Keselowski has opened up 2 car lengths on Matt Kenseth, and that gap comes and goes as Keselowski tries to put the 39 of Ryan Newman 1 lap down.
You know, the saving grace for these drivers on fuel, and we know that a lot of them are flirting with possibly being close on fuel, Darrell. I see the race pace really slowing down right now. Of course, when the pace slows down, you use less fuel.
Yeah, and I believe this fuel injection system will use a little less on a track like this too, because you don't see the fire and the flames coming out the tailpipe, which means they're not using excessive fuel. That could be a big advantage as well.
Jeff Gordon back in the race, 104 laps down after getting into a skirmish with his teammate Dale Earnhardt Jr. and cutting down a tire. So of the top 10, 8 drivers might have a question on fuel. How about Earnhardt's strategy, Steve?
Big question mark, Mike. Steve Letarte just told Dale Earnhardt Jr., you need to save me about 3 laps if you can. If you need to, let the 56 go.
Well, that's no longer a battle, Steve, because Martin Truex Jr. in the 56, we know he can make it, just drove by Dale Earnhardt Jr.
All the MWR Toyotas, 3rd, 4th, and 5th now, led by Clint Bowyer in 3rd. We listened in on Bowyer.
I told you to save gas. I am. That's the beauty of it. Good job, man. Great job driving off.
He is 5.5 seconds out of the lead, but a second ahead of the 4th place car.
And really, it's probably easier to save gas here than it is anywhere, because it's all about throttle management. Get off the gas, you're not burning fuel. squeeze it down, don't get it wide open until a little short 650-foot straightaway, you're saving fuel.
And last week at Las Vegas, Clint Bowyer, Brian Patty stayed out, stretched their fuel, ended up with a 6th-place finish.
Well, anybody who thinks this is an economy run has only to look at the 2 leaders, because here comes Kenseth right back to the outside as Keselowski worked the bottom and they lapped past Dave Blaney. They got past Joey Logano and Ryan Newman. Casey Mears is the next car ahead, and then Kevin Harvick is the next lead lap car ahead in 14th place.
I think Keselowski's got a little something figured out, at least for his car. He runs the bottom of 1 and 2. Then he runs high in 3 and 4. Sunlight maybe has something to do with that. Maybe it's a little sunnier in 1 and 2 and a little shaded in 3 and 4. I don't know, but something makes him think he needs to run 2 different lines.
And with 25 laps to go, there'll be no relief on traffic. It looks like a conveyor belt of race cars out there right now.
And I might add that concrete is not as sensitive as asphalt. It doesn't change as dramatically as an asphalt track would when the sun's in, sun's out.
25 to go and traffic ahead. Bobby Labonte, David Rudiman, Juan Pablo Montoya up there ahead of our leaders, along with Kevin Harvick and Paul Menard.
Yeah, Menard and Harvick, 2 drivers still on the lead lap.
We'll keep you side by side and follow this lead battle with 23 laps to go in Bristol. Car in the wall. Tony Stewart, turn 3, bounces off it, keeps going. 5th caution of the day is out. Tony Stewart slammed the wall after contact from Brendan Gaughan. Some of the leaders pit. Here's a look at what happened from Jimmy Johnson's view. Wow.
Yeah, it just looked like smoke was going down the outside, and Brendan Gaughan in the 33 just drove up into him. See right here, I mean, Brendan's down on the bottom somewhat. Tony goes by on the outside. Tony been running real high into that turn.
Stewart was lapping at 33 and ends up with some pretty heavy right side damage. Had quite a number of cars pit, all but the first 3, it appears.
Yeah,
first 4.
First 4, yeah. I think Brad Keselowski, Matt Kenseth, Brian Vickers, and Martin Truex Jr. in the 56, those 4 drivers stayed out that time.
I think the big decision here is going to be for Brad Keselowski. Staying out's the right thing to do. They really kind of played the cards are handed, but he needs to start on the outside because he's tried that starting on the inside, and that don't work.
Oh boy, Dale Jr. too fast entering the pits. Matt?
And Mike, exactly what DW is talking about. Keselowski just said, boy, what a decision. I don't know whether to take the bottom on the restart or the top. He asked Joey Meyer where he thought Kenseth would be best. He said going into 1, middle to high is where Kenseth was better, but you need to make the choice of where you want to be going into turn 3.
Darrell, where do you want to be if you're the leader?
Based on everything I've seen yesterday and today, outside.
Michael?
On the bottom, if I'm Brad, the bottom for Brad, he's been better down there. Matt's gone up high and can't do anything with him. He took the bottom earlier, maybe the bottom for Brad. But Darrell, what huge pit calls these guys just had to make. Stay out, pit, what are you going to do? The first guy with tires is Clint Bowyer in 5th. He could be a factor before they throw this checkered.
Well, he could be, but based on what I've seen, and I watched the race yesterday, tires are not near as important. Track position is king.
I would agree with that, Darrell, with the exception our top 3 drivers have 155 laps on their tires. That is a lot.
It is, but just based on what I've seen, I've got to go with staying out.
Well, what did Keselowski's group have to say about this decision?
Tell me what you're thinking, Paul, because I got no clue what to do here. They're going to do the opposite of what we do, you know? Yep. We need to just stay out here, man. Make them pass us. I believe we're going to stay out. By the time we get going, there's only going to be about 19, 18 laps to go. Okay, that's fine. I was just making sure. Lap times look good, man. Just got to keep working them over.
Ready for the restart. On worn tires, Keselowski, Kenseth, Vickers, and Truex.
It was real borderline again here on the restart as to who beat who.
It looked like that 17 beat the 2 to the line again to me.
And here comes Bowyer pounding the bottom on fresh tires in the 15.
But now just remember, Martin Truex Jr. in that 56, he even has fresher tires than Keselowski and Kenseth.
By 25 laps, correct. Vickers gives way to teammate Bowyer, but Burton and Menard following him on the bottom. 15 to go.
Right now, Clint Boyer in the 15 is having a time with his teammate Brian Vickers in the 55. I think he may clear him. No, Vickers gets the run on the high side.
And all those drivers with fresh tires are going to use them up trying to get to the front.
You're just in a roadblock, and the tires just can't overcome what you lose while you're trying to get by people.
And up front, same old story. Brad Keselowski, the leader. Matt Kenseth trying to stay with him to have a late race charge at the win.
Now, what might play into some of these guys with tires hands, if we should have another caution, that could be possibly an advantage, but I just don't see it right now.
Only 10 cars on the lead lap.
And you're going to have
three have scooted away, Darrell.
And you're going to have pretty smooth sailing. I mean, this restart, there's not a lot of traffic going to have to deal with. So Keselowski is looking pretty darn good at this point.
Right now, he and Matt Kenseth, their times on the stopwatch pretty much mirroring each other each lap.
Yeah, and then if you go back very far, then those guys back behind them are a tenth or two off of what they're able to run. So I've just seen it over and over the last year or so. Track position is more important than 4 fresh tires.
Yeah, the Hungry Hounds are from 4th place on back. Clint Boyer has now established himself in 4th over Vickers, Menard, Burton side by side. But look at the distance with 9 to go.
This is when you're just holding your breath. Please, please, guys, don't run over anything or anybody. Let me just get this thing to the house. I'm coming home.
All these are for position. Menard, the 27 in 7th. McMurray 8th. Montoya 9th. Jimmy Johnson 10th.
Right now your tongue is hanging out. You've driven your guts out all day long and you're worn out. Just don't make a mistake.
And still in the fight, Harvick, Biffle, Newman, Earnhardt, and Stewart. Those are the lead lap cars.
And that has been a fight for Kevin Harvick in that 29 car.
Last time by, both 2 and 17 ran identical lap times.
Actually, about the top 4 drivers.
Yeah, kind of lay a blanket over them.
7 laps to go. 1st, 2nd, and 5th with the least amount of Sunoco in the tank. That's Keselowski, Kenseth, and Vickers. 1st, 2nd, and 5th.
You know, a year ago, we were not even talking about Brad Keselowski, and he won our final race, NASCAR on Fox, on fuel mileage at Kansas, and it has been game on.
Yeah, and everybody was saying, well, you know, Penske's going to change to Ford next year, and what are they going to do the rest of this year? Well, they're just going to go out and do what they always do, try to win races and try to win this championship. That's the Penske style.
4 laps to go. Jimmy Johnson battling Menard. And the 29 of Harvick, those are lead lap cars.
All right, this is it right here. If Matt Kenseth has got anything for Brad Keselowski, it's time to step up.
And he is, Darrell, but he's knocking off hundredths a lap, not tenths a lap of that lead. It's 6 car lengths. Might as well be 6 miles right now.
That 2 car out front by itself, running the track where he wants to, high, low. He's got it cruise. If he can get back to the line here without another incident.
Might be a lapper. Brendan Gaughan and maybe Carl Edwards between Keselowski and the finish line.
White flag in the air. 1 to go.
You're clear. 5 back. Go ahead a minute. You're nervous. Don't worry. It's got plenty of fuel.
Dale Jr. off the pace. And here comes Brad Keselowski for Roger Penske. 5th career Sprint Cup victory in 93 starts. Keselowski wins the Food City 500.
Nice job, man. Great drive.
And Brian Vickers, in his return here in 2012, gets a top 5 finish, finishes 5th.
5-5-5.
Martin Truex led a Michael Waltrip Racing sweep of 3rd through 5th. Truex, Boyer, Vickers behind Keselowski's Dodge and Kenseth's Ford. Top Chevy was Burton in 6th.
He needs a flag here.
Then McMurray, Montoya, Johnson, and Menard. Keselowski led 4 times today for nearly half the race, including the final 111 laps.
Yeah, once he got that thing out front, he was pretty hard to deal with.
Darrell, there's just something about that Blue Deuce in Bristol. It doesn't seem to matter who drives it.
It really doesn't, does it? Well, I like this. I like Paul Wolf as a crew chief. Brad is on his game. This is a good little race team right here.
Now, Roger Penske has had a 2-car NASCAR team for a long time now. This is his 10th Bristol win, and all 10 of them have come with the Deuce. Rusty Wallace, Kurt Busch, Brad Keselowski.
And we welcome you back live here in Bristol. 28-year-old Brad Keselowski. And Brad is brash, a guy who ultra aggressive driver who also has a chip on his shoulder, Michael Waltrip, but I mean that in a good way. It helps him race aggressively and stand up to the greats in the sport.
There is a guy upstairs that won 12 of these babies with a chip on his shoulder. Kyle Busch, very successful, and Kurt both here. So you have to have an attitude to come to Bristol. But winning here doesn't get any better than that.
And we've had the 4th different, referring of course to RDW, Jaws back in the day there, but 4th different race team that has won this year over the first 3 races. Of course at Daytona with Matt Kenseth, who finished 2nd today, was the Roush Fenway Fords, and then Joe Gibbs Racing with Denny Hamlin, Tony Stewart with Stewart Haas Racing, and then today Roger Penske, as Mike Joy pointed out, Brad Keselowski pulling into victory lane in the Blue Deuce. As for Matt Kenseth and the 17 car, let's check in on the 2nd place finisher with Matt Yoakum.
A chess match back and forth between the 17 and 2 cars. The final third of the race. Was the final restart the lane choice the deciding factor, Matty?
It's pretty physical chess there, Matt. Yes and no. I mean, if I would have been on the top, maybe I could have pinned him down there, but on old tires, I knew he was going to choose the top. So he could really roll the bottom in 1 and 2 really good, and I'm surprised I couldn't capitalize on that and get around him. But that last run, we just started a little too loose. Then we got out in the lead, and then plus we got some tape we picked up on and got on the brake ducts, and I was just, I was too free. I held him on the bottom, hoping he was going to burn his tires off in that second to last restart as long as I could, and I was finally going to crash, and he slipped by me, and I could keep up, but that was about it.
Impressive start to the season continues for Kenseth. Chris?
231 laps led for Brad Keselowski, a career high in victory lane with our Chris Devoda.
As he climbs from his race car, celebrating with his crew, took time to tweet a picture of victory lane and the celebration. So last year when Brad Keselowski won here in the fall, they said he manipulated the timing line. So they made a new rule. What rule will they have to make to keep you out of victory lane the next time?
I don't know. This car, as strong as it was, Krista, I'm sure there's a rule that could be made, but you know, I got on Twitter and got kind of PO'd at some people that said I won it because of the timing line. I knew this Blue Deuce was fast enough to win the race last fall, with or without timing lines, and it feels so good to just prove it here today in the spring race. This car here, brand new car that Penske Racing built. Everybody back in the shop did a phenomenal job. Last few races have been really good, and I knew we had a shot at winning one if we were in like we were, and today we closed the deal. You know, Matt didn't make it easy, but
you had him stalking you, and you chose the outside on that restart.
I know, man. Well, that's his job to not make it easy on me, and he did a good job and raced me hard, and I raced him hard. We rubbed a little bit, but that's good racing, and I don't know how anyone can say Bristol racing ain't as good as it was. I think they might be right because it's better than it's ever been. This is one of the best races I think I've ever been a part of and ever seen from behind the seat. So just thrilled to death to be here in victory lane at Bristol again. One of my favorite places for sure, and if this team keeps performing like they are, we'll get more.
He's making a case for the new king of Bristol. Dick?
With Brian Vickers, and an absolutely incredible run. You bring it home in 5th position without a dent in the car. How badly did you need this run as you're looking for more employment?
Well, when it's your only one, you better make it count, right? But I can't take any of the credit. I mean, wow, the guys, I mean, you can tell, yeah, just proud to be a part of MWR, getting 3 cars in the top 5. You know, I can't thank, you know, Michael and Rob and everyone at MWR for giving the opportunity. Obviously, Aaron's and Toyota. You know, what an exciting day. Rodney showed us bolted together my first go-kart 20 years ago. And then he handed it off to my father and a guy named Corey Smith to finish it off. And then he just put together my last one, and what a heck of a job. Called a great race. Everyone did good. New spotter, he did a great job as well.
Congratulations to you. Chris?
Thanks, Dick and Brian and owner Michael Waltrip, who we just mentioned taking a chance. 5 more races for Brian Vickers and maybe a few more.
Well, you never know. There's a couple road courses left on the schedule, and Brian certainly proved today that he's got his brain into what he's doing. It feels so good just to see a story like this develop. He got kicked out of his ride. He got kicked out of NASCAR. He wanted in so bad. Not only did he get back in, he came in with the attitude of, thank you, I want to go do good for you, and certainly did that today.
Sometimes you don't miss something until it's taken away. But back to Brad Keselowski on Twitter, and we remember Daytona primetime on Fox when he added 100 or a couple 100,000 to his account. Remember, he was fined by NASCAR for criticizing the fuel injection system of NASCAR at one point. So Twitter is part of his game, but he pulled into victory lane, held on back-to-back here at Bristol.
Yeah, there's 14th time in the history of this place that guys have gone back-to-back. So you get hot here, you can stay hot for a little while.
And Michael Waltrip Racing hot today, as you see Brad Keselowski on the phone celebrating. Let's check in with Matt Yoakum.
Martin Truex Jr. scored his first nationwide win right here in Thunder Valley. You almost picked up your first Cup win in Thunder Valley. How would you describe today, Martin?
Well, it was a great day for us, for Napa Toyota, for everybody on our team. Obviously a great day for MWR. Just so proud of Michael and Rob and everything they put into this team to get us to where we are, you know, and proud of Chad. His call at the end, you know, he called to stay out and stuck to his guns, never second-guessed himself, and, you know, he's really coming into his own as a crew chief. So proud of him and the team. You know, proud of everybody at MWR for what they've given us, you know, TRD for all their help, and you know, we've come a long way, and you know, the last 10 or 15 races we've had a really consistent, really good race team. We've got a lot of confidence, and you know, for us it was a good day. We were up and down. We you know, we were off in the middle part of the race, but we kept digging, worked hard on it, got back up into I think 5th or 6th, 7th right there before that last caution, then stayed out, and that was the call of the race. So just want to thank Chad. Thank everybody on the Napa team, on the Napa car, and see what happens to go to California and try to, you know, get in victory lane. We're getting close.
Solid third for Truex.
As Michael Waltrip, Toyota's running hot. You were twisting and turning with those pit calls as well, wondering as an owner here, what do we do? How do we play it?
Well, I felt so bad for Brad and Matt. 1-2, you know that if those guys pit, everyone else stays out. They elected to stay out. Darrell was right. Track position has been king here at Bristol lately. We saw the preliminary race yesterday won with track position, so maybe that was the right call, but it's really cool to see people make a decision and then say, that's it. Go race your car, boy.
All right, our final thoughts from Larry and Mike and Darrell. And how about what Brad said, Mike, that, you know, Bristol's different. It's better than ever, at least for him, at victory lane.
Boy, he likes it. The drivers like this configuration, and I think the next time Brad says this is the best car I've ever had here, more people will pay attention. But of the usual suspects, 3 of our 3 5-time winners here all ended up in the fence at one time or another during the day. Tony Stewart had a problem, rebounded, recovered, got back up in the lead lap, got turned around. It's Bristol, baby.
It is. It really is. And it didn't disappoint me.
No.
I tell you, those long green flag runs and what it takes to stay up on the wheel and focus and run around here at 16 seconds, that takes a man. This is a man's racetrack. You better have your work clothes on when you come here. And these guys today, they impressed me. Ryan Vickers hadn't been in a car in almost a year. Up on the wheel all day long is a top 5 finish, and then Keselowski, just a wonderful job on his part. So I love Bristol. I like it any way they want to paint it. It's still Bristol.
And with them, Boyer, Truex, Burton, I mean, a lot of great stories all throughout the top 10, Larry. A story of perseverance, making the right adjustments, and just driving the wheels off the car.
Well, and we talked about it at the top of the show, that this would be an ever-changing racetrack, that we started on a racetrack, all the rubber had been washed off, and we dealt with a track where the sun was out, the sun was in. A race that only had 5 cautions, but going back to your point as well, who would ever believe in the first caution we would have the big one and take out a lot of players that we felt like were going to be contenders, like Carl Edwards, like Casey Kane, like Kyle Busch. The big one took a bunch of them out in the very beginning.
Yeah, very early on. And the great thing about short track racing, Chris, is in just 2 weeks, we get to do it again.
To Martinsville after we go to California and Fontana, as Michael and I check the unofficial results. And you see Jeff Burton, a good run for Richard Childress Racing, finishing up there at 6th. Jimmy Johnson, we talked about that wreck they did moments ago early in lap 24. Jimmy Johnson got through that along with Brad Keselowski to be able to have successful finishes.
Yeah, we saw Tony Stewart get in the wall. He finishes 14th. Dale Jr. back in 15th. 30 might have a flat at the end of the race. Denny Hamlin, he's got to be scratching his head a little bit. Off to such a fast start this year. Last couple of weeks, it's been a challenge.
For Regan Smith in the 78 car, winds up 24th. He was kind of caught up in that Casey Kane 6-car wreck that we we referred to. And Jeff Gordon had a car that he thought he could win with, and I know you thought at the start of the race, but the incident with Dale Earnhardt Jr. Took him out, and he was frustrated.
You never know what can happen on these short tracks. Jeff Gordon, Carl Edwards, Kyle Busch, all in the same crash. That was huge early in this race.
Junior did lead a couple of laps. Keselowski celebrating at victory lane. Let's check in with Junior and our Steve Burns.
Well, Dale Jr., once you guys got some track position, you're pretty much a top 5 race car all day.
Yeah, we were fast all weekend. Real happy with the way the National Guard, Mountain Dew Chevrolet, we ran all day. We sped on it last stop, I guess. I come down the back straightaway, and I had green lights all the way down. And I had 2 red lights on the front straightaway. And I was told I was speeding on the back, but if anywhere, I was speeding on the front. So I don't know. This place is probably hard to tell exactly what's happening. I don't really trust some timing lines too much, but if they say so, I guess we were speeding. Difficult way to give up a good finish, and we ran hard, worked hard all day, and I hate what happened to Jeff. We were racing really hard, and it was fun, and this is one of the places. If there's a track where you can lean on each other a little bit, this ought to be the place. But we just barely rubbed down the back straightaway, and
I heard you say I didn't get into it much.
Well, if you showed it on TV, I'm sure some people might have thought that was a hard hit, but that to me it was good hard racing. The pipes on my car cut the left rear tire down, and I feel terrible about that happening to my teammate. Those guys worked really hard, and they were running good and happy with their car, I'm sure. But you put, there's 4 of us out there. We're bound to race each other and run into each other every once in a while. Otherwise, just frustrated about the finish, but we did run good. We run better than we run here last year. We run really good pretty much everywhere except for Phoenix, and things are looking up for our team.
Thank you, Dale.
Thank you.
Thanks, Junior. And Steve, well, these are 2 guys you talk about, successful drivers who've been around like Jeff Gordon, Dale Earnhardt Jr., and these are the best at what they do. Is that just, the good hard racing? Where's the line on that, especially between teammates?
Well, the line wasn't crossed here at Bristol. They just bumped. It just was unfortunate that the pipes cut Jeff's tire and boom, he went into the wall. I agree with Junior on that one. What I don't agree with him is those timing lines are computers. I think they're pretty close to being accurate. So if you're speeding, you're speeding. It's pretty black and white.
Don't argue with the machine.
That's
the
right.
Computer ultimately wins. Let's check back in with Steve Burns, who's with Jimmy Johnson.
Well, Jimmy Johnson, sun in and out today. A lot of teams really chasing the racetrack. How was your afternoon?
It wasn't too bad. We had a tough qualifying effort and tough practice, but we had a competitive car. I think a top 5 car. I don't think we had anything for the win, but we got stuck on the inside lane there in the 16, had some trouble getting going, and we lost a few spots. Otherwise, I think we would have been right there around 5th or 6th. So not a bad day. Great day on pit road. Improved a ton over the weekend. Had a competitive race car today, and we'll go on with it with this, 9th place finish.
See you in Fontana.
Yeah, buddy. Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Californian Jimmy Johnson, as we check the standings. 4 different winners after 4 races. And, of course, Jimmy will find out on Tuesday whether his crew chief is going to be with him. Chad Knaus for the next 6 races suspended, or those points will be docked. 23rd coming in. He would have been 13th without that, but we'll check that as we see Greg Biffle, who led early on the pole and remains your points leader.
Yeah, I would say test passed by Biffle. He had a solid day, kept his point lead. Denny Hamlin had the point lead for a week, couldn't hold on to it. Now Biffle's got it.
We'll take a look ahead at next week in the Auto Club 400 from Fontana, California. More live coverage from the win by Brad Keselowski here in Bristol on Fox. Brad Keselowski, the new generation driver here after back-to-back wins at Bristol, tweeting, sending out photos, enjoying social media. And Michael, I get you're onto something with the personality of guys who have to win here, from Darrell Waltrip's 12 wins at 7 in a row, Kyle Busch, who had won 4 out of the last 6 coming in, to now back-to-back for Brad.
Yeah, Brad is full of himself, and he has every reason to be. He's fast. He loves what he does. He speaks his opinion. He lets everybody know where he stands, and it results into a fast car on the racetrack. I love the attitude you have to come here with Bristol. And also, I agree with Brad. I love this race today. I love the excitement of just trying to race each other, trying to pass past one another and making it all work out.
Now, you like the 3 your cars were in the top 5, too. Let's not kid anybody. All right, tonight on Fox, you'll want to tune in. Animation Domination, The Simpsons, Bob's Burgers, that's Animation Domination, and American Dad, everybody's favorite, at 9:30. And next week we'll be at the Auto Club in Fontana, California, not too far from Hollywood. Kevin Harvick made his move at the correct time, leading only the final lap to win last year. That ought to be exciting. Make sure you tune in. That's at 2:30 Eastern. Note the start time, 11:30 Pacific. For more on this race, continuing coverage from Bristol, tune into Victory Lane on Speed, and for all your NASCAR needs. A different Bristol, but still Bristol. Cramped, crowded, teammates getting into it, spotter issues, a comeback story with Brian Vickers, and a victory for Brad Keselowski. For our entire gang on NASCAR on Fox, I'm Chris Myers. Have a good week. Thanks for being there.